Chapter 1849. Naive, you're too naive. Do you really think I can't kill you? Yang Hongwu sneered. In his own space, Yang Hongwu sealed his power. He could even use the power of the devouring furnace and the yin-yang great millstone to completely obliterate his physical body and soul. It was just a matter of time. I'll show you my real strength. Come out, devouring furnace. With a single thought from Yang Hongwu, a gigantic furnace appeared. This furnace was none other than the devouring furnace. Anya Shin was already used to it. Huateng had also seen it before. The devouring furnace seemed to be able to devour everything and increase Yang Hongwu's cultivation. It was a very powerful and terrifying secret technique. It was conceivable that if Yang Hongwu's cultivation reached a terrifying level, he could easily devour a world if he reached the level of the emperor. It was a forbidden secret technique and divine sense. It was very terrifying. Anya Shin and Yang Hongwu had warned him that such a secret technique was too terrifying and should not be used too much. It would be troublesome if he was targeted by some experts. There were countless experts in the heavens and realms. They did not want to see such a terrifying threat, especially such a secret technique. If they could not obtain it, they would not allow others to have it. After all, it could threaten them. Therefore, if Yang Hongwu used it too much, it would cause a lot of trouble. If Yang Hongwu used such a secret method, it would incur the wrath of the masses. In that case, it would be no laughing matter if all the experts in the universe joined forces to deal with Yang Hongwu. Even if Yang Hongwu was powerful, he might not be able to resist all the experts in the universe. This was Anya Shin's concern. This furnace has a terrifying, devouring power that can threaten my life. How is this possible? Hua Shintu's expression changed. Originally, one of his origins was in the depths of the cave. Although it was his real body, he still had some leeway. Although the origin avatar that was left in the depths of the cave to suppress that thing was not as powerful as his main body, if something happened to his main body, he could use the avatar's origin to be reborn and continue to live. However, the instant this furnace appeared, he had a strong premonition that if he died in this furnace, his origin source embodiment would die as well. This was terrifying. Originally, to him, the death of his true body wasn't scary. As long as nothing happened to his essence incarnation, he could continue to live. The price he had to pay for the death of his true body was only a drop in his cultivation base. With his own talent and that special treasure, he only needed to spend a little. As time passed, he would be able to recover his cultivation. However, the premonition just now was truly terrifying. Once his original body was killed, his source incarnation would also die. This meant that he was truly dead. This was something he could not accept at all. Therefore, he retreated. Hua Shin looked at Yang Hongwu's devouring furnace and kept retreating. However, after retreating a few feet, he found that he was blocked by the boundary and had nowhere to retreat. Didn't you say that I can't kill you? Why are you retreating? Yang Hongwu sneered. Hua Shin didn't speak. He stared at Yang Hongwu. This was the biggest crisis he had ever encountered. If he wasn't careful, he was afraid that he would really die here. Kid, if you let me go now, I won't hold it against you for trespassing here. However, if you continue to be stubborn, I can tell you that you will die here. The fiery god diagram wanted to threaten Yang Hongwu and scare him a little. The three of them. However, what kind of person was Yang Hongwu? How could he be scared and deceived so easily? At this moment, Hua Shintu was already feeling guilty. Obviously, he was afraid of death. Very afraid of death. Yang Hongwu could see this. Haha, are you afraid now? Weren't you so arrogant just now? Why are you afraid now? Are you regretting it? Yang Hongwu laughed. However, it's too late now. If I want to kill you, no one can stop me. As he said that, Yang Hongwu stretched out his hand and pointed at Hua Shintu. Jingshan finger. This was the Jingshan finger that Yang Hongwu hadn't used for a long time. There was a world of difference between Yang Hongwu's current strength and his previous strength. The power of this finger was naturally incomparable to the previous Yang Hongwu. This finger had already reached the point of returning to its original state. This attack seemed ordinary, but contained the supreme law and supreme power. In the eyes of others, this finger was like a child's play. It didn't have any power. However, in Hua Shintu's eyes, this finger was filled with the power to destroy heaven and earth. In the depths of his heart, a terrifying fear was aroused. He knew that this finger couldn't be avoided. This finger seemed to be destined to pierce through his head and his heart. This was the true, terrifying aspect of a Jingxin finger. It could directly strike at the heart of the enemy, causing them to feel absolute fear. They would subconsciously believe that they wouldn't be able to block this finger. It was as if they already knew that they wouldn't be able to block this finger. They were destined to die under this finger. This kind of secret technique was truly terrifying. It directly struck at the heart, annihilating one's fighting spirit, annihilating one's life. Is he scared out of his wits? Hua Shinta saw that Hua Shinta didn't move. The finger slowly moved towards Hua Shintu's forehead. However, Hua Shinta seemed to be stunned and didn't move. Hua Tung and Anya Shin widened their eyes. They couldn't understand why. This finger didn't even have much power. Hua Shinta didn't move at all. Was this just a test? Although Hua Tung and Anya Shin couldn't see the terrifying power contained in this finger, both of them knew that Yang Hongwu definitely wasn't testing this finger. It was impossible that it didn't have any power. Perhaps this was just to confuse Hua Shintu. They didn't know when the real killing move would appear. It would explode. Crack! A crisp sound was heard. Hua Shintu's forehead was pierced, and a bloody hole appeared. His entire head was pierced. Light shone through the bloody hole from the other side of his head. Hua Tung and Anya Shin were dumbfounded. It was unbelievable. This attack didn't seem to contain much power, but it really pierced through Hua Shintu's forehead. Chapter 1850. His physical body was destroyed, but his spirit wanted to escape. Moreover, at this moment, the fiery deity diagram had used a special secret technique to protect his spirit. It was not an easy task. Even if he had a powerful secret technique, he could not protect his spirit in front of Yang Hongwu. Yang Hongwu not only had the devouring furnace, but also the secret technique of the soul. You want to escape from me with only your divine soul left? That's impossible. Yang Hongwu smiled gently. How could Yang Hongwu not know what the fiery god too was thinking? With a thought, Yang Hongwu's immense mental strength formed a huge net that shrouded the entire space. He reached out his right hand and grabbed the fiery god two's spirit. You can't kill me. The fiery god diagram's divine soul had been captured, but he was still as arrogant as ever. He knew that Yang Hongwu would never let him go, so he didn't beg for mercy. Most importantly, he believed that his own origin incarnation would still be able to survive after his original body was destroyed. It was just that his cultivation would drop after his original body was killed, but it was nothing. As long as he obtained the treasure, he could cultivate back. Can't kill you, Yang Hongwu said. You still have an incarnation and a trace of your spirit origin, but so what? It's useless even if you have an incarnation. As long as this is your original body, your incarnation will also die if I kill your original body. With that, Yang Hongwu did not give the fiery god two any chance. His spirit was instantly devoured and refined by the devouring furnace. Of course, at the most critical moment, Yang Hongwu naturally wouldn't let go of that incarnation, that soul origin, of course. Curse technique, Yin Yang's soul locking curse. As Yang Hongwu's cultivation increased, the divine powers derived from the Nine Heavens divine dragon technique became very powerful. Compared to before, it was like heaven and earth. For example, the Yin Yang Soul Lock Curse was a powerful divine technique curse. The so-called soul locking curse was not that simple. As long as one obtained a wisp of a martial artist's soul source, one could directly curse the other party's soul. If he obtained the soul origin of the true body, then he could use the Yin Yang Soul Lock Curse to kill the other party, no matter how many strands of soul origin the other party left behind. That was to say, when he captured more than 60% of the opponent's soul origin, he could use the Yin Yang Soul Lock spell to kill the opponent completely, as long as the opponent's strength was not far beyond Yang Hongwu's own. Of course, if the opponent's soul origin was protected by a powerful soul treasure, that would be different. The moment Yang Hongwu used the Yin Yang Soul Lock spell, He sensed the soul origin left behind by the fire god diagram. This soul origin was in a soul jade slip. Moreover, the fire god diagram had left behind a powerful force to suppress something. That was a seed. It was just a seed, but it required 3 people to suppress it. Yang Hongwu was shocked. However, he only caught a glimpse of it before it was isolated. However, this brief moment was enough for Yang Hongwu to find the seed. As for the fire god diagram's soul origin, it was completely destroyed by Yang Hongwu. In the depths of the cavern, Hua Shenhuang and Huo Shenhuang's faces changed drastically. The fire god diagram's soul jade slip had shattered. The wisp of soul origin in the soul jade slip had completely dissipated, and the incarnation was also dead. The force suppressing the seed had also dissipated. How could the two not be shocked? This meant that the fire god diagram was dead, completely dead. Even the incarnation and the soul origin in the soul jade slip had been completely destroyed. What kind of terrifying cultivation was this? What kind of terrifying ability was this? Not only could he kill the main body, but he could also borrow the power of the soul to kill the incarnation and erase the soul origin. This was the complete annihilation of the fire god diagram, leaving nothing behind. This was a ruthless extermination. There were very few people who could do this, unless the person's cultivation had surpassed the sovereign realm, or if they had a supreme ability or secret art. No matter which of these 2 possibilities it was a huge threat to the 2 of them. Big brother, what should we do now? Third brother is dead, and he didn't even have a chance to send message. Now, his incarnation and his soul have been completely destroyed. Hua Shenhuang's eyes were filled with fear. Although the fire god diagram's strength was the weakest among the 3 of them, in reality, he was still a sovereign realm expert. He wasn't much weaker than the other 2. In reality, the 3 of them were only early-stage sovereigns. They hadn't been in the sovereign realm for long. Originally, the 3 of them had thought that as long as they refined the mysterious seed, their cultivation would advance by leaps and bounds. At the very least, they would be able to reach the mid-stage sovereign realm, or even higher. In that case, their strength would be enough to shake the entire Heavenspan continent. One had to know that the Heavenspan continent was filled with experts, but there weren't many true sovereigns. Out of the 10,000 cities, there were at most 1,000 cities with sovereigns. Flame City had 3 sovereigns, and if they could refine the seed, their cultivation would increase by leaps and bounds. Once they broke through and became mid-stage sovereigns, with 3 mid-stage sovereigns overseeing them, they would have the strength to become one of the 10 great Heavenspan cities. The ancient city of Tongtian was one of the 10 most powerful cities in the Tongtian continent. Every single one of them possessed unparalleled power. It was rumored that the lords of these 10 cities could obtain supreme power, as well as supreme divine techniques to cultivate. Whether this was true or not, they didn't know. Only the lords of the 10 great Heavenspan cities knew. In reality, the lords of the 10 great Heavenspan cities had never shown their faces. Moreover, the 10 great Heavenspan cities had existed a long time ago, and their status had never been shaken. Huo Shenhuang and the other 2 were extremely ambitious. Before they found a mysterious seed, they didn't dare to have any thoughts about the 10 great Heavenspan cities. However, after they found the mysterious seed in the Divine Flame Mountain, they had such great ambitions. Ambition. Chapter 1851. However, they did not know that Yang Hongwu had already sensed their location. There was no way for them to hide. Furthermore, the 2 of them wanted to completely refine the mysterious seed. How could Yang Hongwu let them do as they wished? Their thinking was too simple. Let's go. Yang Hongwu released the formation and said to Huateng and Anya Shen, "You're so powerful, young Master Yang. Tell me, what realm have you reached?" Anya Shen looked at Yang Hongwu and asked. Although Yang Hongwu was only at the Divine Emperor realm, his fighting strength was much stronger than normal. Even if he was a genius, it was impossible for him to challenge someone at a higher realm. Since she met Yang Hongwu, she had never seen Yang Hongwu lose to anyone. This was because he had never met anyone who could defeat him. This was the most frightening thing. If a person had never been defeated, then he was truly terrifying, extremely terrifying. Divine Emperor Realm. Yang Hongwu said, "In fact, my cultivation realm is not as good as yours." "Are you kidding?" Anya Shen asked. "Yes, young master. Your cultivation realm can't be just at the Divine Emperor Realm. Even experts at the Sovereign Realm are no match for you. How can you be just a Divine Emperor Realm warrior?" Hua Tong said, "I don't believe it. Young master, your cultivation realm should have reached the Sovereign Realm a long time ago. You must have deliberately hidden your cultivation realm, right?" Huiting didn't believe it either. After all, it was impossible for a Divine Emperor to defeat a Sovereign Realm expert so easily unless he was at the same level as the Sovereign Realm. Even though a genius could challenge someone of a higher realm, it was impossible for a Divine Emperor Realm expert to kill a Sovereign Realm expert. It was simply impossible. Even if the other party had a supreme treasure, it would still be impossible for them to do such a thing. There was a gap of 2 big realms between the Sovereign Realm and the Divine Emperor Realm. At that level, a gap of 1 small realm was difficult to overcome. But now, there was a gap of 2 big realms, which was simply impossible to exist. Therefore, Hua Tong didn't believe it either. "It's up to you to believe it or not." Yang Hongwu said, "All right, let's go look for the 2 brothers of the fire god diagram, Huo Shenquang and Hua Shenwang. The 3 of them are the ancestors of Flame City. Rumor has it that they've existed since Flame City was founded. Their strength has reached an unimaginable level. They've already reached the ruler realm. Young master, you killed Fire God too. You're one of them. Hua Shenquang and Hua Shenquang are even stronger than the Fire God diagram. Young master, you must be careful. They're stronger than you, and there are 2 of them." "Don't be careless," said Huitong. "Of course I know that. You don't have to worry." Yang Hongwu looked at Huitong. This fellow had now become somewhat timid. This fellow had not been so afraid when he had brought Yang Hongwu to the Divine Flame Mountain. If Huiting knew what Yang Hongwu was thinking, he would probably grumble in his heart. After all, who wouldn't be afraid in the face of 2 ruler realm experts? Although his cultivation was decent, he was still a far cry from a ruler realm expert. He was just a small captain in Flame City. His strength wasn't that great. Huitong is right. Even if you can kill Fire God 2, you can't be careless. After all, Fire God 2 is the weakest among the 3 brothers. Moreover, he must have been careless. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to kill him so easily, said Anya Shen. Yang Hongwu nodded. This was the truth. If the fiery deity diagram hadn't been too careless, it wouldn't have fallen into his array formation without a sound. Although Yang Hongwu was very confident in his array formation, he wasn't a sovereign-level powerhouse, so he naturally wasn't confident in his array formation. He didn't know how strong a ruler realm expert was. If they were prepared, would they be able to discover his formation? If the other party was prepared, Yang Hongwu might not be able to easily trap them in his formation. When a ruler realm expert reached the ruler realm, they could instantly tear through space and escape. Although it was slower than Yang Hongwu's void travel technique, it was still very fast. They're actually heading straight for us. Hua Shenquang frowned when he noticed that Yang Hongwu and the other two's auras were getting closer. Big brother, what should we do? I'm afraid our position has been exposed. We're at a critical moment now. We can't relax. Hua Shenwang's eyes were filled with worry. They were already at the final stage of refining the mysterious seed. If they failed at the final stage, then they would be in trouble. If they failed, everything would be for naught. If they failed, the seed would escape in an instant. At that time, they wouldn't have any more chances. This seed was very mysterious and contained a very strong power. They were here to refine this mysterious seed and seize the power within it. They had a premonition that if they could refine this seed and seize the power within it, they would be able to possess the power of the ruler realm. They would have the strength to dominate the sky-reaching continent. However, at this critical moment, Yang Hongwu and the other 2 had barged in. What was worse was that the third of the 3, Hua Shuntu, had already been killed. The 3 of them were the progenitors of Flame City. They were very close to each other. Now that Hua Shenquang and Hua Shenwang had been killed, their hatred for Hua Shenquang was unimaginable. However, for the sake of this seed, they didn't make a move. They wanted to refine this seed before Yang Hongwu and the other two arrived. However, they had underestimated Yang Hongwu's speed. Along the way, they set up many formations and restrictions. These formations and restrictions were set up from the very beginning. These formations and restrictions were very powerful. Ordinary sovereigns would have a hard time breaking through these formations and restrictions. It would take a lot of effort. However, these formations and restrictions were so weak in front of Yang Hongwu. They were like pieces of paper that were broken in an instant. They didn't have the effect of stopping them at all. This was what Hua Shenquang was worried about. Big brother, they're already very close to here. At this speed, they'll reach here in less than half an hour. We'll need at least an hour to refine this seed. We won't make it in time, Hua Shenhuang said anxiously. That little bastard, how could he be so fast? Chapter 1852. If that's the case, we don't have to worry at all. Hua Shenhuang said, we just have to focus on refining the seed. We can't be careless. Hua Shenquang shook his head and said, at this point, we can't let our guard down even if there's a slight possibility. You're right, big brother, Hua Shenhuang said, but he didn't think much of it. After all, the formation couldn't be broken so easily. At the very least, it was impossible to break it within 2 hours. However, the trio's speed seemed to have exceeded their expectations. If it didn't slow down, it wouldn't take them 2 hours. However, the closer they got, the stronger the formation became. Let's see if they've slowed down. After a while, Hua Shenhuang said anxiously, big brother, something's wrong. Their speed didn't slow down at all. Instead, it's getting faster. If this continues, they'll find us soon. Don't worry. Hua Shenquang was also nervous, but he comforted his brother. At this point, Yang Hongwu had already found Hua Shenquang and Hua Shenhuang's location. If he hadn't refined the power of the fire god diagram, Yang Hongwu wouldn't have found them so easily. After all, the spiritual qi in this space was very strange. Even a powerful divine ability like his Dharma, Eye of Annihilation, couldn't detect far. However, Hua Shen and the other two were different. Although they had not completely refined the mysterious seed, they had at least refined a part of it. This mysterious seed was the source of the spiritual energy in this space, or rather, the source of the divine Fire Mountain's spiritual energy. The reason why the spiritual energy here was so strong and limited their vision was because of the special spiritual energy produced by the mysterious seed. The trio was able to cover the entire divine Fire Mountain with their spiritual energy because they had refined a part of the mysterious seed's power. The others couldn't. Yang Hongwu couldn't explore the depths of the divine Fire Mountain before, but after refining the fire god diagram's origin, he could explore the entire mountain and find Hua Shenquang and Hua Shenhuang's current location. It's here. After a while, Yang Hongwu, Hua Tung, and Anya Shin arrived in front of Stonewall. Young master, there's no path here. How could it be here? Hua Tung asked in confusion. Yes, there's no path here. How could it be here? Anya Shin frowned, but he knew that Yang Hongwu wouldn't lie. If Yang Hongwu was hit by the attack, it would be a fatal blow. Yang Hongwu's reaction wasn't slow. Just as the light was about to pierce through Yang Hongwu's forehead, Yang Hongwu disappeared. His figure instantly disappeared from where he was standing. That strong beam of light bombarded the wall, instantly creating a bottomless hole. The power of this attack was too terrifying. The stone wall was incomparably hard, but under the attack of this strong light, it was actually so terrifying. Damn it! A voice rang out. He actually dodged it. This little bastard's strength is indeed not to be underestimated. However, if it wasn't for the fact that I couldn't unleash my full strength, this little bastard wouldn't have survived. You can't catch that little bastard, but you can escape. As he spoke, Fire God Huang's figure appeared. He reached out his hand and grabbed towards Anya Goddess and Hua Tung. Hua Tung and Anya Shin's faces changed. They weren't strong enough to stop Fire God Huang. Bang! When Anya Shin and Huatong were desperate and ready to fight to the death, a light screen appeared in front of them and blocked Fire God Huang's hand. Master, little bastard, it's you. Hua Shen Huang stared at Yang Hongwu. That young man looked like a divine emperor, but he was terrifyingly strong. He could sense that Hua Shen Huang was the one who had killed Hua Shen Huang. Hua Shen Huang could sense Hua Shen Huang's qi. You're the fire god diagram's brother, right? Yang Hongwu said, You're not bad. You're stronger than the fire god diagram. But that's all. If you could use your full strength, I might not be able to defeat you. But because you were too greedy, you wanted the three of you to refine the fire god diagram. Refining that supreme treasure caused your cultivation to be greatly reduced. That's why you all died at my hands. You won't be an exception. Wow, little bastard, what big words you have. I'm going to eat you alive. Fire God Huang was going crazy from anger as he roared. Fire God Huang was the one with the heaviest karma among the three brothers. He liked to devour geniuses with great talent. It had become a habit of his. Therefore, every once in a while, he would leave Flame City and go to other cities to find geniuses and devour them. It wasn't just because of his hobby, it was also because he cultivated a special demonic technique. However, this demonic technique had a flaw. The most serious flaw was that once he was enraged, he would lose his mind and turn into a mindless demon that only knew how to kill and eat people. He had been suppressing it all this time. But now, because he needed a part of his strength to refine the mysterious seed, he was about to lose his mind after being enraged by Yang Hongwu. He became crazy. His eyes turned red. His entire body changed. His body became huge, and his face became ferocious. Long fangs grew out of his mouth. He had turned into a man-eating demon. Not good. Huo Shenquang, who was still focused on refining the seed, noticed this scene and his expression changed. He knew about his second brother's situation. If it weren't for the fact that he cultivated demonic arts, there wouldn't be such a big flaw. He originally thought that after refining a portion of the mysterious seed's power, the three of them would be completely fine. Chapter 1853. Fire God Huang, don't fall into his trap. Calm down, calm down. Fire God Huang shouted, hoping to rouse the Fire God Huang's consciousness. Once the Fire God Huang was bewitched by Yang Hongwu, it would be troublesome. At that time, both of them would die here, not to mention revenge. Even if they weren't killed by Yang Hongwu, they would die from the backlash of the seed's power. However, the Fire God Huang was completely enraged by Yang Hongwu. When Fire God Huang tried to rouse it, the seed's power was already taken away. Fire God Huang was under a lot of pressure. He had to use all his strength to suppress the backlash of the seed. He didn't even have the strength to speak. At this moment, Fire God Huang's heart was filled with bitterness, but there was nothing he could do. Little bastard, go to hell. The Fire God Huang's strength increased tremendously after extracting the power from the mysterious seed. As a result, Yang Hongwu felt a lot of pressure. Yang Hongwu squinted his eyes, trying to stay alert. He didn't expect the Fire God Huang to completely lose his mind and ignore the mysterious seed. Yang Hongwu was very surprised. At this moment, the Fire God Huang gave him a lot of pressure. If they were to meet force with force, he wouldn't be able to resist. However, Yang Hongwu wasn't stupid enough to meet force with force at this moment. That was because Yang Hongwu had already sensed how shocking the power of the mysterious seed was. Now that it had lost the suppression of the Fire God Yellow, the mysterious seed was on the verge of exploding. It could break free at any moment and directly devour Hua Shenquang. At that time, the mysterious seed's first target would be Fire God Huang and Fire God Huang, not the three of them. Therefore, Yang Hongwu only needed to stall for time and wait for the mysterious seed to backfire on Hua Shenquang and Hua Shenhuang. That would be the time for him to reap the benefits of the battle. Yang Hongwu wanted this mysterious seed very much because the Fortune Divine Tree in Yang Hongwu's body had already sent out a message. This seed seemed to be of a higher level than the Fortune Divine Tree. This shocked Yang Hongwu. He didn't know the origin of a higher level seed than the Fortune Divine Tree, but he was sure that it was a very powerful life form. Even if he didn't give it to the Fortune Divine Tree, his strength would rise to an unimaginable level if he could refine and subdue it. Yang Hongwu was well aware of how powerful the Fortune Divine Tree was. The Fortune Divine Tree could directly absorb energy from the void and produce fortune chi. Compared to the Fortune Divine Tree, if a seed of a higher level was cultivated, how powerful would it be? It wasn't hard. This meant that it would not be an easy task to germinate this seed. It would also be extremely difficult to refine it. Perhaps this seed was an extremely powerful being. Once it broke out of its cocoon and truly awakened, he would not be able to stop it at all. Looking at the fire god Huang's attack, Yang Hongwu used his mind to wrap Anya Shin and Hui Tung, and they disappeared from the spot. This time, seeing that his attack had missed and Yang Hongwu had appeared in another place, the fire god Yellow Emperor was so angry that he cried out, "Little bastard, don't run if you have the guts. I'll eat you." "Idiot," Yang Hongwu replied indifferently. The fire god Huang was going crazy. He chased after Yang Hongwu, but he couldn't catch up with him. Yang Hongwu's void travel secret technique was too strange. The fire god Huang couldn't capture his aura. He could only be anxious. His eyes were filled with madness as he completely entered the Tao of demons. His entire being was filled with demonic chi. At this moment, the mysterious seed's power was getting stronger. Fire god Kuang couldn't suppress it alone. At this time, they were already forced into a dead end. "Kid, let's die together." Huishan Kuang was infuriated. He released his suppression on the mysterious seed. In an instant, the mysterious seed released a terrifying chi. It seemed like the entire divine flame mountain was about to be crushed. In an instant, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The void was torn apart by the power of the mysterious seed. Yang Hongwu's face changed. Fire god Kuang knew that he couldn't suppress it anymore. Since he was going to die anyway, he wanted to drag Yang Hongwu and the other two down with him. "Damn it, this bastard." Yang Hongwu's face changed. At this moment, fire god Huang was struck by a powerful force and was sent flying. A bloody hole appeared on his huge body. Such a terrifying attack didn't kill the fire god Huang, but it woke him up. "Big brother, save me." When he saw the mysterious seed flying towards him, the fire god Yellow was terrified to the extreme. Now that he had regained consciousness, he knew how terrifying the seed was. Now that the seed had lost their suppression, the power it could unleash was too terrifying. Back then, the three of them had paid a huge price to suppress the seed. Now that it was released, it would be too difficult to suppress it again. Moreover, they were already exhausted. Especially fire god Huang himself. He was seriously injured and had no strength left to fight back. "Shut up," fire god Kuang roared. "It's all your fault. If not for you, I would have refined the seed." Hearing fire god Huang's voice, fire god Kuang gritted his teeth. If not for him, he would have the chance to refine the seed. Once he did, his strength would rise to an unimaginable level. At that time, not to mention Yang Hongwu and the other two, even the heaven-reaching ruler would have the confidence to fight against him. He would have the confidence to fight against the heaven-reaching ruler. Unfortunately, it was too late for regrets. However, even though he was furious, Fire God Huang was still his younger brother. He couldn't just watch him die like that. Moreover, as long as the Fire God Yellow didn't die, they still had a chance of survival. The three of them had once cultivated a powerful combination technique. When the two of them combined, their strength would increase by several times. This was also the reason why they were able to suppress the mysterious seed. "Let's go." Huo Shenquang instantly appeared in front of Hua Shenwang and pulled him up, dodging the mysterious seed's attack. However, Fire God Kuang was also grazed by the terrifying power. A piece of his arm was scraped off, turning it into a bloody mess. Yang Hongwu took a deep breath as he watched. Chapter 1854. You want to leave? It's impossible. Your only chance now is to join hands with us to resist that thing. That way, you'll have a chance of survival. If you want to escape, it's simply a pipe dream. This space has already been sealed. Moreover, your bodies have been infected by that thing's aura. You won't be able to leave this place unless you suppress it. Hua Shenquang snorted after hearing Hua Tung's words. Although he hated Yang Hongwu and the other two to the core, he had no choice but to rope in Yang Hongwu and the other two. If they wanted to survive, the 5 of them joining hands was their only chance to survive. At this moment, Hua Shenquang and Hua Shenhuang's injuries were not light. If Yang Hongwu and the other two left, they would definitely die under the attack of that thing. Therefore, no matter how much Hua Shenquang and Hua Shenquang hated Yang Hongwu's group of 3, they still wanted to rope Yang Hongwu in for their own lives. After all, this was their only chance. They didn't want to die in this situation. For a martial artist, the longer they lived, the more they feared death. This was very normal. Young master, they must be lying. You can't believe them. Hua Tung said, You know if they're lying or not. Even if we die in the hands of that thing, you won't have a good time either. At most, we'll die together. Hua Shenhuang escaped from death and naturally didn't want to die. However, he wasn't a fool. He knew what his big brother was planning. Yang Hongwu and the other two said. Yang Hongwu sneered and said, You guys think too much. If I want to leave, no one can stop me. It's just a seed. We don't even know what it is. Even if it's a complete form, I'm not afraid. What a boastful tone. Hua Shenquang said. He despised Yang Hongwu's arrogant words. Who didn't know how to boast? This was only a seed. If it could truly grow up, how terrifying would it be? How empty would it be? Hua Shenquang didn't even dare to think about it. Just a single seed had already forced them to such a state. If it was the complete form, who knew how terrifying it would be? Who doesn't know how to boast? If you can suppress this seed, I will admire you. Hua Shenquang said. Haha, what's the use of your admiration? Yang Hongwu laughed. If you can refine that seed, I'll recognize you as my master and let you order me around. What's wrong with that? Fire Shenhuang suddenly said. Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes. Hua Shenhuang and Hua Shenquang were extremely strong. Even though they were heavily injured right now, their strength was still rather frightening. If they were to recover to their peak state, they would definitely be sovereign-level powerhouses. If he could keep them as his slaves, they would be of great help to him. Of course, if he could bring them out of the God domain, it would be very easy for him to become the ruler of the entire God domain. In the God domain, Yang Hongwu had never heard of sovereign-level powerhouses. Yang Hongwu had never even heard of emperor-level powerhouses. Therefore, it would be best if he could subdue these 2 powerhouses. Of course, Yang Hongwu also knew that these 2 powerhouses wouldn't be so easily subdued. After all, they were sovereign-level powerhouses. It was also possible that these 2 powerhouses wanted him to take action instead of running away. After all, the 2 of them had no way to contend against that guy. This mysterious seed. The power of this mysterious seed was too terrifying. For Yang Hongwu, this seed gave him a lot of pressure. This seed was extremely tempting to Yang Hongwu. After all, the power contained in this seed was too strong. Yang Hongwu guessed that this seed was probably the origin seed of a great universe, the origin seed of the flame world. Or perhaps it was the seed of a powerful divine tree of fire attribute. If he could subdue and refine it and integrate it into his common people's great world, it would definitely raise his common people's great world by a level. However, the possibility of this was very low. Completely devouring and refining this seed was already a difficult task, let alone integrating it completely into his common people's great world. The increase in difficulty wasn't just a little bit, but a lot. The strength of the 2 of you is passable. If you were to become my servants, you would be barely passable, Yang Hongwu said calmly. Hua Shenquang and Hua Shenhuang were furious when they heard this. They were both sovereign-level powerhouses. Even in the sky-reaching continent, they could become an overlord. How could they not be furious when he said that they could only barely pass as his slaves? However, they were both people at their level. Naturally, they could keep their composure. They were both old foxes. Although they were furious at Yang Hongwu's words, they didn't show it. In fact, the 2 of them knew very well that if the other party could easily refine and subdue this seed, his strength would be extremely terrifying. His background would definitely not be small. If that was the case, it wouldn't be unacceptable for them to become his slaves. After all, they were very clear about the power of this mysterious seed. If Yang Hongwu could easily subdue it, he would definitely be extremely terrifying. Not to mention his talent, even his background would definitely be extremely powerful. At least in their opinion, if the other party could easily subdue this seed, his strength would definitely be at the mid-sovereign level or even the late sovereign level. Moreover, the youth in front of them was very young. The two of them knew very well that when they were at his age, how could their cultivation be so terrifying? Compared to Yang Hongwu, the difference between them was like heaven and earth. Moreover, his cultivation was obviously at the divine emperor realm. At their level, they could tell that Yang Hongwu didn't hide his cultivation. All right, if you can refine this seed, we'll become your slaves. What do you think? Huo Shenquang agreed again. He also knew that if Yang Hongwu could refine this seed, it would mean that he would completely control the divine fire mountain. In fact, the entire divine fire mountain was a part of this seed. If he could refine this seed, the entire divine fire mountain would be under his control. At that time, it would be impossible for them to go back on their words. At that time, their lives would also be in Yang Hongwu's hands. Chapter 1855. However, once they left the divine fire mountain, they would have a chance. However, no matter what, the most important thing for them now was to get through the crisis in front of them. If they couldn't get through it, only death would await them. If they lost their lives, everything else would be fake and meaningless. Therefore, as long as Yang Hongwu agreed to deal with the mysterious seed, it would be the best thing. Because in this way, he would have a chance to survive. If not, he would have no chance at all. This was the most terrible thing that he didn't want to see the most. Master, I think it's better not to take the risk. Huatong was very worried. He looked at the mysterious seed floating in the air. The terrifying power that burst out seemed to be able to easily destroy everything. This kind of power was too terrifying. That's right. If we can leave, I think it's better to leave first. Although this treasure is powerful, it's difficult to subdue and refine it. Anya Shen also nodded. He's right. Because your bodies have absorbed the spiritual qi here, you can't escape. This seed has already sealed this side of the world. As long as you devour the spiritual qi of the divine fire mountain, you can't leave. Of course, I can leave, but you can't. So now, the only chance is to refine this seed. Yang Hongwu said. He felt the power of the mysterious seed. Using the power of the Dharma Eye of Annihilation, he sensed the situation in this side of the world. He found that except for the special cultivation method that he cultivated, he could refine the spiritual qi of the spiritual qi. However, Hua Tong, Anya Shin, Hua Shunquang, and Hua Shunwang were all restricted and couldn't leave this side of the world. If they forced themselves to leave, they would be directly stripped of their vitality and die. Master, are you serious? Hua Tong asked. Anya Shin also looked at Yang Hongwu, not believing what he said. After all, it was too mysterious. It was just absorbing and refining some spiritual qi, but they were restricted and couldn't leave. It was too unbelievable. Of course it's not fake, Yang Hongwu said. At this moment, that seed turned into a ball of light and flew towards Yang Hongwu and the others. Its speed was extremely fast, and it arrived in front of them in the blink of an eye. Be careful. Anya Shin was shocked when he saw the light. If he was hit by it, he would be seriously injured even if he didn't die. Just now, he saw that Huo Shenquang was injured badly just by being grazed by the light. What would happen if he was hit? How terrifying was that? Although she trusted Yang Hongwu a lot, there was still a precedent. Huo Shenquang's injuries were the best proof. Humph. Yang Hongwu snorted coldly and punched out. If a tiger doesn't show its power, do you really think I'm a sick cat? This punch exploded with a powerful force, bombarding the light. In an instant, the light was scattered and the seed was sent flying. Huo Shenquang was dumbfounded when he saw this scene. He was very clear about the terrifying power of this seed. However, Yang Hongwu was able to send it flying with a single punch. This was too unbelievable. Too unbelievable. You? Who are you? In fact, Yang Hongwu couldn't believe his punch just now. He didn't expect that he would be able to send the mysterious seed flying with a single punch. The power of this mysterious seed was definitely very strong. It seemed like his strength could restrain this mysterious seed. Yang Hongwu sensed that the power of law contained in this seed was of the fire attribute. Although he also had the Red Lotus Karmic Fire, the power of the Red Lotus Karmic Fire couldn't be higher than the power of this seed. Therefore, his punch that sent the seed flying probably wasn't the power of the Red Lotus Karmic Fire, but another power in his body. The power of the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon Technique? Yang Hongwu thought for a moment. The possibility wasn't very high. Yang Hongwu channeled the power of the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon Technique, condensing a large net and grabbing towards the seed. If it was the power of the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon Technique, this seed would be able to avoid his net even if it couldn't be caught. However, the reality disappointed Yang Hongwu. This seed exploded with a ray of light. This ray of light instantly shattered the large net. If it wasn't the power of the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon Technique, then why was he able to disperse the attack of the seed so easily? Could it be the power of his physical body? Yang Hongwu's eyes lit up. The power of his physical body. Perhaps it was really possible. The cultivation technique he cultivated was very special. Moreover, after the creation's sacred tree devoured the power of creation, his physical body had been tempered. Now, his physical body was definitely very strong. Moreover, more importantly, his physical body contained an ancient power of law. This ancient power came from the special and powerful power sealed deep within his body. It had been released once. This time, the release of power made his physical body stronger. In fact, this was also the reason why Yang Hongwu wasn't worried. Because when he was in a life or death situation, that power would erupt. You guys be careful here. Don't let Huo Shenquang and the others seize the opportunity. I'll go and collect that thing. Yang Hongwu turned to Anya Shenv and said, You have to be careful. The goddess of the dark night wanted to persuade Yang Hongwu, but she knew that it was very difficult to change his mind. Yang Hongwu wasn't a fool. He must have his reasons if he dared to go there. He wouldn't do it if he wasn't sure of the result. If he wasn't confident, he wouldn't take risks easily. Now that Yang Hongwu dared to do this, he must have enough confidence to take action. Big brother, why don't we capture that woman? She has a high position in that kid's heart. Seeing that Yang Hongwu was focused on the seed, and that mysterious seed seemed to be a little afraid of Yang Hongwu. It didn't dare to act rashly against Yang Hongwu. This made Hua Shenwang very worried. Perhaps he could really collect and refine that mysterious seed. In that case, the two of them only needed to capture that woman to make Yang Hongwu hesitate. Once Yang Hongwu succeeded in refining the seed, he could also force Yang Hongwu to hand over the mysterious seed. Once he had control of the seed, he could leave this place safely. Chapter 1856. Huo Shenquang hesitated for a moment and shook his head. It wasn't that simple. If the other party dared to be so relaxed, it meant that he had enough confidence. If he didn't, he wouldn't have dared to act so boldly. It could even be said that he had left his back open to the two of them. There were only two possibilities for someone who dared to do so. One was that he had absolute confidence, and the other was that he was naive and daring. Obviously, Yang Hongwu wasn't the second one. Hence, it could only be the first possibility. Come here. Yang Hongwu walked towards the seed step by step. This kid, is he courting death? Previously, the three of them joined forces to suppress the seed before it fully awakened. Now that the mysterious seed's consciousness had fully awakened, he dared to act so boldly. Although Yang Hongwu's strength was pretty good, Huo Shenquang didn't dare to act so boldly. The two of them did not believe that he alone was stronger than the three of them back then. This was almost impossible. However, Yang Hongwu did it. Yang Hongwu approached the mysterious seed step by step. Unexpectedly, the mysterious seed was retreating bit by bit, as if it was afraid of Yang Hongwu. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Big brother, is this real? Hua Shenwang murmured. I don't believe it either, but this shouldn't be an illusion. Huo Shenquang took a deep breath. Everything in front of them was real, not an illusion. Where did this kid come from? It's too terrifying. Yang Hongwu disappeared from his spot and appeared in front of the ball of light. He reached out his hand and grabbed the ball of light, which was the mysterious seed. At this moment, the mysterious seed was struggling madly. Sure enough, such a domineering power. Yang Hongwu sensed the power of this seed and was shocked. The power contained in this seed was not ordinary. It was the power of the supreme fire attribute origin world. This was a fire attribute world seed, a world seed. However, this seed was different from the other world seeds. However, this world seed hadn't matured yet. It should be a seed condensed after the fall of an unparalleled Almighty. The law contained within this seed was extremely powerful. However, due to some special reasons, it had been sealed and had not been completely released. Yang Hongwu suspected that the reason why the seed was afraid of him was because of the special power that was sealed in his body. It was a powerful power that he didn't even know about. It was as if this power had faintly interacted with this seed in some way. Could it be that he had bullied the owner of this world seed in his previous life? Yang Hongwu only thought about it. Whether it was true or not, no one knew. It was just a guess. The question now was how to refine the seed and make it submit. In fact, However, Yang Hongwu discovered that this seed was extremely resistant. It was completely unable to merge into his common people's great world. Devouring furnace, come out. Yang Hongwu thought about it. Since he couldn't merge it into the common people's great world, he would refine it completely. Yang Hongwu instantly took out the devouring furnace. He threw the seed into the devouring furnace and used the power of the devouring furnace to devour the seed. However, Yang Hongwu was disappointed. Although the seed was caught by Yang Hongwu, it didn't change in the slightest in the devouring furnace. It couldn't be refined at all. At this moment, Huoshan Kuang and Huoshan Kuang's jaws dropped. It was too powerful, too domineering. This mysterious light seed, which was incomparably arrogant in front of them and had almost killed them, erupted with an astonishing aura, but Yang Hongwu was not affected at all. He actually dared to try and refine the seed. It was too terrifying, too powerful. Big brother, what should we do now? That kid has really trapped that thing. Hua Shenhuang said. Originally, Hua Shenhuang and Huo Shenhuang had wanted to wait until Yang Hongwu and the mysterious seed were both injured before charging forward to reap the benefits. However, they hadn't expected that the seed's aura would be so terrifying that they couldn't even get close to it. Yang Hongwu, on the other hand, however, he acted as if nothing had happened. This contrast was too great, so much so that their calculations fell through. Let's go. We'll think of a way to leave this place. Huo Shenhuang thought about it and fled into the distance. Big brother, are we really going to give up on our bodies? Hua Shenhuang thought about it and asked. Now that the mysterious seed was suppressed, they could indeed leave. However, the price was to give up on their bodies and escape with only a wisp of primordial spirit. Moreover, it was only a wisp of primordial spirit. It meant that they wouldn't be able to retain their sovereign realm cultivation after they left. They would be revived in Flame City, and their strength would be by Butsuan. They could only recover to the Emperor realm at most. Moreover, they would never be able to improve. In other words, their cultivation would forever drop by a realm. They would be stuck at the Emperor realm for the rest of their lives. For a powerful cultivator, especially a sovereign realm cultivator, this was worse than death. Could it be that you really want to become his servant? Compared to cultivation, freedom was still very important. Is there no other way? Hua Shenhuang asked. There is no other way. I think we can capture that woman. That kid looks young. That woman seems to be very important to him. As long as we capture that woman, there should be a chance. Hua Shenhuang said. Huo Shenhuang hesitated. This was very risky. At this moment, Yang Hongwu discovered that he was unable to completely refine this world seed, so he directly sealed it up. He used the common people's world and the scroll of fortune to seal it up. This was a huge price to pay. This meant that before he completely dealt with the world seed, he wouldn't be able to use the power of the Great Life Seal and the Scroll of Fortune. The Scroll of Fortune was fine. However, the Great Life Seal was very important to Yang Hongwu. His strongest battle strength was relying on the Great Life Seal. Now that the seal was restricted, his strength would be reduced by half. Chapter 1857. When Huo Shenquang and Hua Shenhuang saw Yang Hongwu walking towards them, they knew that they had lost their chance. They had missed their only chance. Congratulations, young master, for obtaining the supreme treasure. Huo Shenquang quickly said when he saw Yang Hongwu walking towards them. Is that so? Aren't you going to take this opportunity to attack me? Yang Hongwu looked at the two of them and said. Yang Hongwu naturally knew what the two of them were thinking. They definitely had their own ideas, but they had yet to take action. After all, both of them were injured and weren't at their peak. If they were at their peak, they would have already taken action. We wouldn't dare. Young master, you must be joking. Huo Shenquang quickly smiled apologetically. What kind of joke was this? Although he had some ideas in his heart, he didn't dare to take action. After all, Yang Hongwu's strength was there for all to see. Moreover, no one knew if he had any powerful trump cards that he hadn't used yet. If there was a slight mistake, they might fall here. This was something that they didn't want to happen. Initially, Huo Shenquang planned to abandon his cultivation and physical body and escape from here. However, there was no need for that now. They clearly knew that Huo Shinta's soul was destroyed when Yang Hongwu and the other two killed him. His body was destroyed along with his spirit origin. There was no possibility of him being resurrected. Therefore, the two of them naturally didn't dare to try again now that they had lost their chance. Moreover, even if they succeeded, they wouldn't be able to improve their cultivation anymore. The two of them weren't too willing. After all, no one wanted to fall from a high and mighty overlord to a mere emperor. This kind of difference was not something that an ordinary person could bear. If they could still survive and their cultivation did not drop, the only thing they would lose was their freedom and their high and mighty status. They would not have absolute authority. In fact, the difference would not be that big. It was just that they would not be able to do anything. There was an additional person above them, a person who could control their life and death. In addition, they were the high and mighty overlords, the old ancestors of Flame City. It was even possible that their status would become even higher, and his strength might become even more powerful. This might be an opportunity. Of course, that was what Huo Shenquang thought. However, Hua Shenhuang was different. He didn't want someone to control his life and death. However, he didn't have the chance to resist. He didn't dare to resist. He was also afraid of death. However, his ambition was much greater than Huo Shenquang's. Although Huo Shenquang was willing to become Yang Hongwu's servant, Hua Shenhuang didn't have such thoughts. He had no choice. He wanted to make a fuss about it. Of his place. He had a secret technique. This secret technique could transfer contracts. Initially, he was planning to use the secret technique to acquire a supreme, godly flame. However, it turned out that he could use the secret technique to transfer his slave contract, allowing someone else to take his place and become Yang Hongwu's servant without him knowing. It was his only chance to not become Yang Hongwu's servant. Huo Shenquang, his big brother, would become Yang Hongwu's servant. His third brother, Huo Shintu, was dead. Huo Shenquang would become the sole overlord of Flame City, a supreme existence. Although Huo Shenquang wasn't dead, after becoming someone else's servant, what did he do? Why did he have to control Flame City? How could he become the overlord of Flame City? Huo Shenquang didn't know what Hua Shenhuang was thinking. Yang Hongwu didn't know either. Now, it's time for you to fulfill your promise. Yang Hongwu looked at the two and said indifferently, Huo Shenquang hesitated. Before he could finish, Hua Shenhuang spoke. Young master, I'm willing. Hua Shenhuang took the initiative to offer a strand of his soul to form a servant contract. Once the contract was signed, it meant that he would become Yang Hongwu's servant. His life and death would be under Yang Hongwu's control. Huo Shenquang was surprised by Hua Shenhuang's initiative. He knew his brother very well, but he didn't expect him to take the initiative to sign a contract and become Yang Hongwu's servant. It was too unbelievable. Yang Hongwu was surprised too. Huo Shenquang might be unwilling, but he wasn't stupid enough to go against him and give up his life. Hua Shenhuang, on the other hand, might be afraid of death, but he wouldn't sign a contract so easily. Yang Hongwu had already made his choice. If Huo Shenquang didn't know what was good for him, he would kill him directly. However, Huo Shenquang agreed to it. It was too shocking. Yang Hongwu didn't have any intention of rejecting the contract. In that instant, Yang Hongwu successfully signed the contract. He felt that he had control over Hua Shenwang's life and death. If Hua Shenwang dared to do anything to him, he would kill him. He would kill him completely. Very good. A wise man submits to circumstances. Yang Hongwu nodded. This is the best choice you've made. Big brother, I've already signed the contract. It's your turn. Hua Shenwang looked at his big brother and said, You. Huo Shenquang sighed. Although he was unwilling, he knew that it was too late. He had already made up his mind. Now, he had to sign the contract. He was a sovereign realm expert, but he was going to become someone's servant. From this point on, he was very unwilling to accept this. However, since things had already come to this point, there was no possibility of going back on his word. Thus, Huo Shenquang signed a contract and became Yang Hongwu's servant. Under the witness of the great Tao, Yang Hongwu had control over Huo Shenquang's life and death. Congratulations, young master, Huiding said. Huiding knew that his status was going to be lowered this time. They were both servants, but Huo Shenquang and Huo Shenquang were much stronger than him. He might not have an easy time in the future. Congratulations. You've gained 2 capable subordinates. The goddess of the dark night was also happy for Yang Hongwu. Now that they had signed the contract, there was no possibility for them to resist. She wasn't worried because this meant that Yang Hongwu would become an overlord in the sky-reaching continent in a short time. In a short period of time, he would become a powerful force, Flame City. Moreover, he could use Flame City to grow stronger. This was something that Anya Shenv was very happy to see. Yang Hongwu nodded. Chapter 1858. The Divine Flame Mountain was born because of the mysterious World Seed. Now that Yang Hongwu had sealed the World Seed, the mysterious oppression of the Divine Flame Mountain had disappeared. Yang Hongwu had already noticed this. However, even if the mysterious suppression disappeared, he could refine the entire Divine Flame Mountain as long as he refined the World Seed. In fact, the mysterious power of the Divine Flame Mountain didn't disappear. It was just that it had merged with the Divine Flame Mountain and didn't erupt. Now, the Divine Flame Mountain had become even more violent. The spiritual energy had become even more violent. The group of 5 had to be careful as they walked on the Divine Flame Mountain. Even though Huo Shenquang and Huo Huang were sovereigns, they didn't dare to be careless even if they had fully recovered from their injuries. However, the group still managed to leave the Divine Flame Mountain without any mishaps. Before leaving, Huo Shenquang took one last look at the majestic ancient mountain that reached the clouds. His heart was filled with emotions. This ancient mountain carried too many of his hopes, but now it was all fake. There was no more chance. He sighed in his heart. There was a time when one's ambition had to be in line with one's strength and luck. Otherwise, if one's luck and strength were not strong enough, it would only benefit others in the end. It would be completely meaningless. Huo Shenquang was the best proof of that. The 3 brothers had done everything they could to obtain the seed, but in the end, it didn't land in his hands. Out of the 3 brothers, one had died, and the other 2 had been reduced to servants of others. From sovereigns, they had become servants of others. This change was too sudden, and he couldn't get used to it at all. Big brother, let's go. What are you looking at? Hua Shenwang asked. Huo Shenquang sighed, but didn't say anything. On the other hand, Yang Hongwu didn't mind. Of course, he knew that the Divine Flame Mountain wasn't as simple as he thought. After leaving the Divine Flame Mountain, the World Seed's power seemed to be suppressed even more. This was a good thing for Yang Hongwu, but it also limited the World Seed's growth. The Divine Flame Mountain might contain some huge secrets. Unfortunately, Yang Hongwu didn't have enough time to investigate and unearth them. Not long after leaving the Divine Fire Mountain, Yang Hongwu discovered a mighty force rushing towards the Divine Fire Mountain. Yang Hongwu activated his powerful eye technique to investigate. These people just so happened to be from Flame City. The one leading them was Flame City's City Lord, Fire Immortal Blade. Now, the Fire Immortal Saber's strength had increased, which surprised Yang Hongwu. The Fire Immortal Saber had already become a sovereign realm expert. Originally, the Fire Immortal Saber and Yi Yilong were both half-step sovereigns. What Yang Hongwu hadn't expected was that the Fire Immortal Saber would actually cross the threshold and become a sovereign realm expert in such a short time. The cultivation speed of a dominator was truly astonishing. Right now, the Fire Immortal Saber was in high spirits. Stop! The Fire Immortal Saber hadn't discovered Yang Hongwu's group of 5 yet, but he waved his hand to stop them. There was still a considerable distance between them and the Divine Fire Mountain. However, the reason why the fiery Immortal Blade stopped was because he sensed that something was wrong. In other words, he subconsciously sensed danger, which was why he stopped. It was a premonition. City Lord, why have we stopped? The Divine Fire Mountain is right in front of us. Aren't the 3 old ancestors in the Divine Fire Mountain? One of the elders asked. There weren't many people who knew about the existence of the 3 old ancestors of Flame City, the Fire Immortal Kwang brothers. At the very least, they were at the level of an elder in Flame City. Furthermore, ordinary elders wouldn't know about them. Therefore, many people didn't know about the strength of Flame City. Even the disciples of Flame City were only a few. All this while, they had thought that Flame City's strength was only what it looked like on the surface. It was only about the same as Dark Knight City. However, in reality, Flame City was much stronger than Dark Knight City. This was because of the existence of the Fire Immortal Kwang brothers. As the primogenitors of Flame City, not many people knew about them. Moreover, one of the 3 brothers was biding their time, while the other was aiming for the World Seed on the Divine Flame Mountain. This World Seed was incomparably mysterious. In reality, they didn't know that it was the origin source of a powerful world. However, Yang Hongwu knew that this World Seed was far from what an ordinary world could compare to. This World Seed seemed to have reached an unimaginable level of power. However, Yang Hongwu was very curious. Why would the Forbearance Divine Hall master place such a powerful World Seed in his Forbearance Divine Hall? This was an examination ground. In his world, it was impossible for such a powerful World Seed to not sense it. This was also what worried Yang Hongwu. After all, as his strength increased, Yang Hongwu was more and more shocked by the strength of the Forbearance Divine Hall Master. This was definitely a terrifying fellow. His strength was too terrifying. Moreover, this was his world. Yang Hongwu didn't believe that the Forbearance Divine Hall wasn't in the Forbearance Divine Hall Master's world. According to Yang Hongwu's thoughts, was the Forbearance Divine Hall really just looking for a suitable successor? This possibility wasn't very high. Even though, for some people, inheritances were extremely important, in reality, at Jiga's level, their lives were practically immortal. As long as they didn't seek death themselves, they definitely wouldn't easily die. With their endless lives, how could they find an inheritor? That didn't seem to be the case. There was no need for that. Of course, if they were bored and wanted to have some fun, that would be a different story. However, when he thought of this, Yang Hongwu smiled. This kind of possibility really existed. When a person's strength reached a certain level, or in other words, when a powerhouse was bored to a certain extent, it was really possible. After mocking himself, Yang Hongwu threw these messy thoughts to the back of his mind. He, Huo Shenquang, and the others slowly walked towards the Fire Immortal Blade. When the Fire Immortal Blade saw Yang Hongwu, his face turned pale with fright. Chapter 1859. Hua Tung, you betrayed me, betrayed the entire Flame City. Are you worthy of me, worthy of Flame City's nurturing? Inferno Immortal Blade glared at Hua Tung, killing intent flashing in his eyes. At this moment, Inferno Immortal Blade was no longer afraid of Yang Hongwu. Inferno Immortal Blade was strong to begin with. Now that he had broken through, he was naturally more confident. Moreover, this wasn't Dark Knight City's territory. Although he was defeated and ran away, it was impossible for him to do so now. His strength had increased by more than just a little. Plus, this was Flame City's territory, making him even more confident. If Dark Knight Elong dared to appear here, he could easily kill him with a single strike. Although Yang Hongwu was strange, he wasn't afraid of him. However, when he noticed Hua Xinquang and Hua Shunhuang behind Yang Hongwu, he frowned. These two people were too similar to the two patriarchs of Flame City. However, their auras were much weaker. "You? Who are you?" Inferno Immortal Blade asked. "Who are we?" Hua Xinquang snorted. "Fire Immortal Blade. How dare you not bow to me, just because you've made a breakthrough? Old ancestor?" Hearing Hua Shunquang's words, Inferno Immortal Blade's eyes widened. He couldn't be more familiar with this voice. It was the old ancestor of Flame City, Hua Shunquang. He had heard Hua Shunquang's voice before, but he had only seen the portraits of the three brothers. Forget it. Hua Xinquang and his two brothers had never seen anyone from the Flame City. Even the fiery Immortal Blade, the city lord, had only communicated with him through voice. "Old ancestor, why are you with him? He's a great enemy of Flame City." Inferno Immortal Blade said. "Nonsense." Hua Shenhuang said. "Inferno Immortal Blade, what do you know? How dare you disrespect the young master? Do you know that you're courting death?" Inferno Immortal Blade was stunned. This was the old ancestor of Flame City. How could he side with an outsider? Moreover, the auras of these two people were weak. Their strength wasn't that terrifying. One had to know that the three old ancestors in his heart were extremely powerful and terrifying. Back then, he didn't even dare to raise his head in front of the three old ancestors. Their auras were too oppressive. He was afraid that he was too powerful. However, the two people in front of him who looked very similar to the great ancestor were far inferior. "You're all fakes. How dare you impersonate the ancestors of my Flame City?" At this moment, the Inferno Immortal Blade's eyes shone with a chilling glint as a battle saber appeared in his hands. This battle saber was none other than the Inferno Immortal Blade's supreme, utmost treasure. With a swing of his saber, he slashed towards the Inferno Godly Yellow. Seeing the Fire Immortal Blade attack, the Fire God Yellow was enraged. "Fire Immortal Blade, how dare you attack me? This is disgraceful. You must be tired of living." The Fire God Yellow was enraged. To think that this **starred would dare to attack him. This fellow was the city lord that he had groomed single-handedly. To think that he would dare to attack him with a battle saber today. This was an unforgivable sin. The enraged Fire God Yellow waved his hand, and a talisman appeared. This talisman turned into a gigantic net. Instantly, this net shrouded the Inferno Immortal Blade. The Inferno Immortal Blade snorted coldly. "You think that a mere net can trap me? If this were before I came, this net might have been a little bit of a threat to me. But now that my cultivation state has broken through, this net can't even withstand a single blow." The moment the Inferno Immortal Blade finished his words, he slashed out with his saber and sliced apart the net. This saber contained an extremely domineering law of destruction. The Fire God Yellow was injured by this attack. However, the Fire God Yellow wasn't enraged. Instead, he was elated. This was all part of his plan. The Inferno Immortal Blade was someone that he had his eyes on. This was the body that he needed. His contract transfer mystic art had two directions. One was to directly transfer one's soul, which was similar to possession. In other words, it was to directly transfer one's body. The other was to directly transfer the contract. However, if he wanted to transfer the contract directly, it would be a little troublesome. Once the contract was transferred, he would consume a lot of energy. Moreover, once the contract was transferred, Yang Hongwu would definitely discover it. In that case, even if he transferred the contract, he wouldn't be able to escape. It was suitable. The other method was to directly exchange the spiritual soul with another person. During the daylight robbery, the spiritual soul would be transferred, and the contract would be bound to the physical body. This way, after the successful transfer of the spiritual soul, his spiritual soul would be free from the shackles. In this way, the contract would have no effect on him. Another spiritual soul would be transferred to his physical body, and it would be equivalent to bearing the contract for him. Moreover, by doing so, his spiritual power would be transferred to the new physical body. As long as he was given time, he would be able to recover. Not only that, if the new physical body was outstanding enough, he would be able to use the new physical body to advance to the next level. Hua Shenquang had this idea. His target was the Fire Immortal Blade. He had already calculated this from the start. The reason why the Fire Immortal Blade's cultivation base had increased was because he had already started to use the contract transfer secret technique. A part of the Fire Immortal Blade's spiritual power had been transferred to the Fire Immortal Blade. However, the Fire Immortal Blade still didn't know that he had become the target of seizing. At this moment, he was feeling proud of his improvement in cultivation base. He didn't care about the instability of his spiritual soul. He thought that the instability of his spiritual soul and that it was about to leave his physical body was because he had just broken through to the sovereign realm and his strength wasn't stable yet. The Fire Immortal Blade was pushed back. Although it looked angry on the surface, Yang Hongwu still saw the trace of pride in its heart. Yang Hongwu didn't say what the Fire Immortal Blade was planning. Yang Hongwu didn't know, but he was sure that the Fire Immortal Blade had something in mind. Moreover, it wasn't something good. However, Yang Hongwu was also puzzled. He didn't think that the Fire Immortal Blade could get rid of his contract. If it was an ordinary divine Emperor Realm martial artist who had signed a servant contract with the Fire Immortal Blade, it would be possible to get rid of the contract. However, the Fire Immortal Blade had signed a servant contract with him, so it would be extremely difficult to get rid of the contract. Unless the divine Emperor Realm martial artist was much stronger than him, definitely surpassing the sovereign realm. Chapter 1860. Such arrogance, you unfilial bastard. Hua Shenquang was infuriated. How dare this brat be so impudent? Although the three of them weren't in Flame City, how could the Fire Immortal Blade, the City Lord of Flame City, not be able to sense it? The incomparably pure power of fire was the source of Flame City's power. One had to know that Flame City was built by them. As the City Lord, he could use the source energy of Flame City. He could definitely sense the source energy in their bodies, but this little bastard didn't want to admit it. Hua Shenquang knew what the Fire Immortal Blade was planning. If the two of them returned to Flame City, the Fire Immortal Blade would have to hand over his authority. If the Fire Immortal Blade hadn't broken through to the Sovereign Realm, it would have been fine. But now that he had broken through to the Sovereign Realm, his ambition had grown, especially when he discovered that his and his brother's cultivation were only at the Sovereign Realm, and their auras were so weak, his ambition grew even more. In fact, the Fire Immortal Blade had the same idea. When he first saw Hua Shenquang and Hua Shenwang, he didn't recognize them as the ancestors of Flame City. However, after exchanging blows with Hua Shenwang, he could sense the source energy in Hua Shenwang's body. It came from the same source as Flame City's source energy. Other than the City Lord, there were only the three ancestors who had this kind of power. However, even though he knew, when he saw the two of them with Yang Hongwu, he knew that Yang Hongwu was his enemy. Although he hated Yang Hongwu, he was also grateful to Yang Hongwu. If it wasn't for Yang Hongwu, his cultivation would have remained at the Emperor Realm. What about the Sovereign Realm? Since the two great ancestors were with Yang Hongwu, and the two great ancestors seemed to have become weaker, it was a great opportunity for him. If he could devour the origins of the two great ancestors, his strength would rise to the next level, and he would break through the bottleneck and reach a higher level. Moreover, he might even reach the late-stage Sovereign Realm. Once one reached the Sovereign Realm, the increase in strength with every minor level was enormous. The difference between each level was like the difference between the heavens and the earth. If the two ancestors were at their peak, he wouldn't have the guts to do so. But now, the two ancestors were extremely weak. They might only be half-step sovereigns. If he didn't seize this opportunity, he wouldn't have another chance. The powerful ambition had completely destroyed the trace of kindness in his heart. His demonic thoughts had completely erupted. Greed, evil, slaughter, and all these thoughts had appeared. In fact, this was Hua Shenwang's plan. Fire Immortal Blade was someone he had nurtured. How could he be weak? Hua Shenwang's plan. He didn't want the Fire Immortal Blades to make him lose his mind. Woods, Hua Shenquang. That way Hua Shenwang's Han. had S's, is T. Otherwise, his brother, Huo Shenquang, would be suspicious if he attacked the Fire Immortal Blade for no reason. He couldn't let that happen. The Fire Immortal Blade was affected. He became more evil and greedy. Gradually, he lost his mind. All of this was due to Hua Shenhuang's influence. Yang Hongwu squinted his eyes, looking at the Fire Immortal Blade. He also noticed Hua Shenhuang and Huo Shenquang with a thought. Hua Shenhuang was too calm. This made Yang Hongwu suspicious. However, Yang Hongwu didn't show it. He didn't do anything. He just observed from the dark. He didn't know what Hua Shenhuang was going to do. Yang Hongwu didn't think that Hua Shenhuang could escape his control. At this moment, Huo Shenquang moved. Huo Shenquang couldn't hold back his anger. How dare the Fire Immortal Blade attack an ancestor? This was unforgivable. Die, you little bastard. How dare you betray your master? You deserve to die. Today, let me clean up the house. Huo Shenquang roared and pounced on the Fire Immortal Blade. In his eyes, the Fire Immortal Blade was strong because he was the city lord. He had the origin energy of Flame City in his body. But who was Huo Shenquang? He was the ancestor of Flame City, the master of Flame Continent's origin energy. When the three brothers had entered the sky-reaching continent, they had already completely grasped the origin of the Flame Continent, becoming the three sovereigns of the Flame Continent. Each of them had grasped three origins of the Flame Continent. When the three origins of the Flame Continent were combined, they were the entire Flame Continent. Now, Hioshinna was dead. However, his origin energy was devoured and refined by Yang Hongwu. However, Yang Hongwu didn't control a part of the continent's origin energy because Hioshinta's part had been completely refined. It was the purest and most primitive origin energy. It was the origin energy, not the origin energy of any continent. This was equivalent to weakening the strength of Flame Continent. Therefore, at that time, when the Fire God's diagram's origin energy was refined, the Flame Continent suffered a great calamity. The entire continent's spiritual chi fell by a lot. This also weakened Huo Shenquang and Hua Shenhuang's strength, causing their recovery speed to decrease. However, what surprised Huo Shenquang was that the Fire Immortal Blade's strength had increased. He had even broken through to the Sovereign Realm. This was unbelievable. If the Fire Immortal Blade was tactful, he would have asked him the reason for his breakthrough. He would have found a way to make him stronger. But now, the Fire Immortal Blade wanted to attack him. This was unforgivable. Huo Shenquang wanted to capture the Fire Immortal Blade and obtain the secret of Fire Immortal Blade's cultivation from him. In Sky-Penetrating Continent, it was possible to increase one's own origin energy by attacking other cities and plundering their origin energy. However, this was extremely difficult. Otherwise, they wouldn't have taken such a great risk to refine the Divine Seed in Divine Fire Mountain. If they had the seed, they wouldn't have become Yang Hongwu's servant. Chapter 1861. If he was more careful, he would have noticed that Fire God Huang's origin energy was decreasing. However, Fire God Huang was injured, so he did not notice it. He thought that it was because of the injury, so he did not think much about it. Furthermore, the Fire Immortal Blade would not be able to obtain the origin source energy from the Fire Deity Huang unless the Fire Deity Huang took the initiative. However, he did not believe that the Fire Deity Huang would be willing to give his origin source energy to the Fire Immortal Blade. Origin energy was not an ordinary thing. Once it was given out, it could not be taken back. Old man, your strength is only SOSO. Fire Immortal Blade laughed. Facing Fire God Kwang's attack, he was not afraid at all. Instead, he had the upper hand. Huo Shenquang was infuriated. He didn't expect that he wouldn't be able to take down a mere Inferno Immortal Blade due to his injuries. Although Inferno Immortal Blade's cultivation had increased to the Sovereign Realm, he had only just entered the Sovereign Realm. They had entered the Sovereign Realm a long time ago. Fire God Kwang was frustrated that he could not take down a newbie who had just entered the Sovereign Realm. However, there was nothing he could do. Damn it, you little bastard. Second brother, let's team up and take down this little bastard. Fire God Kwang said to Fire God Huang when he saw that he could not take down Fire Immortal Blade alone. Fire God Huang nodded and joined forces with Fire God Quang. He knew that he had to suppress the immortal fire saber at this moment. Otherwise, his plan might fail. If the immortal fire saber turned into a demon, it would be extremely terrifying. At that time, he wouldn't be able to control it. After all, he was severely injured and had not fully recovered. If he could not control Fire Immortal Blade and something went wrong, all his plans would go down the drain. It would be a great loss for him. When the two of them joined forces, the pressure on the fiery immortal saber was not small at all. When this horrifying pressure erupted, the fiery immortal saber felt an immense threat. At this moment, Fire Immortal Blade regained his consciousness. Careless. Too careless. The strength of these two old antiques was too strong. If the two of them joined forces, he would not be a match for them at all. Attack. Kill these two old men who dare to impersonate our old ancestor. Fire Immortal Blade turned around and said to the people behind him. Although the people behind him weren't as strong as the Fire Immortal Blade, they weren't weak either. Moreover, they knew how to combine their attacks, increasing the pressure on Huo Shenquang and Hua Shenwang. If it was just the Inferno Immortal Blade, the two of them could still suppress him. However, with the addition of the experts from Flame City, things were different. If they were at their peak, they wouldn't have to worry at all. After all, the difference between the Sovereign Realm and the Emperor Realm was huge. Under normal circumstances, a Sovereign Realm powerhouse would be able to fight against dozens of Emperor-level martial artists. However, the problem now was that they were heavily injured and had the Fire Immortal Saber to hold them back. This allowed the Flame City powerhouses to set up a formation to deal with them without worry. This was the biggest headache for Hua Shenquang. You bastards! We're the ancestors of Flame City. How dare you attack us? Are you going to rebel with the Fire Immortal Saber? Huo Shenquang roared furiously. Oomph! What ancestors? Did you see that? That kid is the one who stopped us from attacking Anya City. If it wasn't for him, we would have conquered Anya City long ago. How could our enemy be our old ancestor? Moreover, we're the ancestors of Flame City. How could our old ancestor be so weak? Fire Immortal Saber shouted. Everyone hesitated when they heard Huo Shenquang's words. However, after hearing Fire Immortal Saber's words, their eyes became firm and they believed in Fire Immortal Saber. In their hearts, the old ancestor of Flame City was definitely a terrifying existence, invincible. There had always been a legend in Flame City that the old ancestor's cultivation had reached a terrifying level. If it wasn't for some special reason, Flame City would have been able to sweep through half of the continent. Sky-penetrating continent. This was just a rumor. In fact, this was what Huo Shenquang and the others had been spreading all this time. Huo Shenquang smiled bitterly when he saw this. He didn't expect that their actions would cause them so much trouble now. It was really frustrating. Bam! The experts of Flame City joined forces and attacked together. The power of this attack was incomparably violent, instantly sending Huo Shenquang and Hua Shenwang flying. The two of them coughed out blood and got up. Huo Shenquang's body was trembling. Only Hua Shenwang was calm. At this moment, his plan had succeeded. The contract had been transferred. Only one step was left. As long as this step was completed, he would be able to control Flame City alone. Moreover, he would be able to break free from Yang Hongwu's shackles. He was the ruler of Flame City, the ruler of Flame Mainland. How could he become someone else's servant? This was a humiliation, a great humiliation. Hua Shenwang roared in his heart. When he completely controlled Flame City and broke through the bottleneck, he would definitely torture that bastard Yang Hongwu to death. Young master. Huo Shenquang spoke. I'm sorry, young master. This subordinate is incapable. Huo Shenquang closed his eyes and sighed. There was no other way. He was completely out of ideas. If he was at his peak, he could still take care of these traitors. But now that he had not recovered from his injuries and was suppressed by the Fire Immortal Blade, he had no strength to defeat these traitors. Let me do it, Yang Hongwu said calmly. Kid, get out of my way. I won't make things difficult for you. Seeing Yang Hongwu stand out, the Fire Immortal Blade squinted his eyes. Everyone thought that the Fire Immortal Blade would make a move, but unexpectedly, The fire immortal blade did not do so. One should know that they had the absolute advantage in terms of strength. Their aura was at its peak. "They are my servants," Qin Wentian said. Yang Hongwu said, "You have to look at the master before beating a dog. You want to kill my servants in front of me? Aren't you disrespecting me? City Lord, what are you afraid of? Isn't this the kid who stopped us from conquering Dark Knight City? Today, after killing him, we'll go to Dark Knight City and conquer it." One of them said, "Shut up. I'm talking. Why are you interrupting?" The fire immortal blade sent the person flying with a slap and glared at him coldly. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He hated Yang Hongwu to the core. However, the fire immortal saber could sense that he was facing a huge crisis. This crisis could be fatal. This feeling made his hair stand on end. Although he did not know who this crisis was coming from, he suspected that it was coming from Yang Hongwu, who was standing in front of him. Chapter 1862. Especially when Inferno Immortal Saber heard Yang Hongwu say that Huo Shenquang and Huo Shang were his servants, and they didn't refute him. That was terrifying. He knew the strength of the three ancestors of Flame City very well. They were definitely very strong. Moreover, they were high and mighty. How could they be willing to become someone's servants? They must have been forced to agree to become someone's servants because they had no other choice. What kind of strength was needed to make the three old ancestors so willing? Thinking of this, Inferno Immortal Saber felt even more uneasy. Moreover, this uneasy feeling was getting stronger and stronger. Could it be that this kid had obtained the supreme treasure of the Divine Fire Mountain? He knew that there was an extremely powerful supreme treasure in the Divine Fire Mountain. The three ancestors had been in the Divine Fire Mountain for a long time. Their goal was to obtain that supreme treasure. If that was really the case, then it would be terrifying. He had heard that once that supreme treasure was obtained, one would be able to move unhindered in the sky-reaching continent. Experts were as common as clouds in the sky-reaching continent. How difficult was it to move unhindered in the sky-reaching continent? Furthermore, the entire heaven-span continent was connected to the myriad worlds. Every so many years, countless geniuses would come from a myriad worlds and enter the heaven-span continent. To be able to move unhindered in the sky-reaching continent, one had to be at least a peak sovereign. Most importantly, the sky-reaching continent was one of the worlds of the Self-Defense Divine Palace. In other words, one had to obtain the approval of the Self-Defense Divine Palace's master. Moreover, how difficult was it to stand out among the tens of thousands of worlds? Even if there were only a few geniuses in each world, there were still tens of thousands of geniuses in the 10,000 worlds. Those were true geniuses. They were the best of the best in each world. Therefore, it was extremely difficult to become the overlord of the sky-reaching continent. Therefore, if that supreme treasure was really that powerful, then it would be truly incredible. "You can leave. I can let you go." After hesitating for a moment, Inferno Immortal Saber said, "Out of respect for you, I will let these two people who dared to impersonate the ancestors of Flame City go." Hearing this, Yang Hongwu sneered, "Inferno Immortal Saber, you're too naive. You block my path and beat up my servants. You think you can just let me go with a single sentence? Who do you think I Yang Hongwu am? What kind of joke was this? How could he leave so easily at this time? Naive, too naive. One had to know that his main target was Flame City. Now that he had subdued the two patriarchs of Flame City as his servants, Flame City would become a small base for him. From there, he could begin to spread his influence across the entire Tongtian continent and establish a huge base. Of course, this was a long-term thing. However, Yang Hongwu couldn't stay in the sky-reaching continent for a long time. His goal was to leave this place as soon as possible. It would be best if he could enter the divine domain as soon as possible. It was a pity that Yang Hongwu did not know if there was a passageway to the god domain in the heavenly reaching continent. If there was, it would be great. However, the possibility of this happening was very slim. "What do you want?" Hearing Yang Hongwu's words, Fire Immortal Saber's heart tightened. That ominous premonition was getting stronger. Was it an illusion, or was danger really coming? This made Fire Immortal Saber even more uneasy. "What do I want?" Yang Hongwu smiled. I want the entire Flame City. You want me to become your servant? Fire Immortal Saber's eyes turned cold as he stared at Yang Hongwu. You're dreaming, do you know that? Although you're very strong, I'm not weak either. Moreover, I'm the City Lord of Flame City. I can mobilize the power of the entire Flame City. If you retreat now, you can forget about it. Otherwise, even if I have to pay a certain price, I will kill you here. Kill me? Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes and chuckled. What big words. You could try and see if you can kill me. However, I'm afraid you won't be able to bear the consequences. If you can't kill me, then the one who will die will be you. You've only just broken through. If you die like this, TSK, it'll be a pity. When Yang Hongwu said this, a faint murderous intent locked on a Fire Immortal Saber. Yang Hongwu purposely revealed this murderous intent. Otherwise, Fire Immortal Saber wouldn't be able to sense it. Under this murderous intent, Fire Immortal Saber became even more uneasy. He felt immense pressure. Fire Immortal Saber was furious. He was threatened. He could see that Yang Hongwu didn't intend to let him go, let alone retreat. His target was Flame City. Unless he was willing to give up Flame City, this guy wouldn't let him go. What about me? If you surrender now, you'll still have a chance to live. Yang Hongwu said, Damn it, City Lord, I can't take it anymore. I'm going to kill this little bastard. An elder couldn't take it anymore. A mere divine emperor warrior dared to be so presumptuous. It was too abominable. As soon as the elder finished speaking, he had already rushed forward. At this moment, it was too late for Fire Immortal Saber to stop him. In the blink of an eye, the elder appeared in front of Yang Hongwu. His claw reached towards Yang Hongwu, wanting to grab Yang Hongwu's head off. However, how could Yang Hongwu be so simple? Although the elder's strength wasn't bad, it was still not enough in front of Yang Hongwu. Even if Yang Hongwu couldn't use the power of the common people's great seal and borrow the origin power of the common people's great world, he was still very powerful. Especially at this moment, Yang Hongwu had already secretly set up a formation. Everything was under his control. If it wasn't for the formation, why would Yang Hongwu talk so much nonsense with Fire Immortal Saber? Once the formation was successfully set up, it meant that Yang Hongwu was already in an invincible position. The elder was excited as he was about to grab Yang Hongwu's head. However, Fire Immortal Saber was indescribably worried when he saw this. He knew that the elder was definitely going to die. The secret technique that the elder used was Fire Immortal's giant claw. It was a powerful attack that erupted from his origin power. However, it relied on his powerful divine fire as the foundation. Chapter 1863. Not good. The elder's expression changed drastically. At this moment, he finally realized how terrifying Yang Hongwu was. His divine fire was completely useless in front of Yang Hongwu. The flaming hand was instantly turned into nothingness. At this moment, he naturally understood how powerful Yang Hongwu was. It was terrifying. He finally understood why the fiery Immortal Saber, the City Lord, was still afraid of Yang Hongwu, even though he had a breakthrough in his strength. It turned out that their means were suppressed by Yi Shiwen. Any fire attribute attack would be futile in front of him. This was the most terrifying thing. He was definitely the greatest threat to Flame City. He initially thought that he could take down Yang Hongwu, a mere divine emperor realm warrior. But now, he knew that he was finished. He realized that he had no way out, and Yang Hongwu would not let him go. A cold light burst out from his eyes. Since he couldn't escape unscathed, he knew that he was going to die. Then, he would fight to the death. Even if he couldn't kill Yang Hongwu, he would at least severely injure him. Injure the greatest enemy of Flame City. Die. The elder's aura rose crazily. He was burning his own blood and life force. You're burning your own blood and life force to deal with me. Yang Hongwu squinted his eyes and said, Unfortunately, you're too naive. Even if I can't kill you, I'll still injure you severely. Go to hell. The elder launched a frenzied attack on Yang Hongwu. He gathered all his strength on his hands and threw a heavy punch at Yang Hongwu. Even a sovereign realm expert like the fiery Immortal Saber would be severely injured by this punch. This showed how terrifying and powerful this punch was. The fiery immortal saber had mixed feelings when he saw this. Of course, he knew why he was burning his own life force to attack Yang Hongwu. It was to injure Yang Hongwu and create an opportunity for him. However, the fiery immortal saber smiled bitterly in his heart. He knew that Yang Hongwu wasn't easy to deal with. Moreover, Yang Hongwu would be enraged after suffering such a suicidal attack. In that case, not only would Yang Hongwu not retreat, he would also attack him crazily. Flame City would attack. However, there was no turning back at this point. The fiery immortal saber was able to become the city lord of Flame City. How could he not know that Yang Hongwu was the greatest enemy of Flame City? However, this enemy was too mysterious. Moreover, Yang Hongwu was so young. It was impossible for such a monstrous genius to have no background. Although he had met Yang Hongwu in Dark Knight City and had a good relationship with Yang Hongwu, the fiery immortal saber didn't think that Yang Hongwu was really from Dark Knight City. Even if he came from Dark Knight City, he might not necessarily be from Dark Knight Continent. He could clearly feel that the origin force in Yang Hongwu's body didn't come from the same source as Dark Knight Continent. Therefore, Yang Hongwu's origin force wasn't from Dark Knight City. He might be a descendant or a disciple of a peerless expert who was sent to Dark Knight Continent to gain experience. The fiery immortal saber was very jealous. Why was Dark Knight City so lucky to have such a peerless genius to gain experience in Dark Knight Continent, while Flame Continent didn't have one? If Flame City could have such a heaven-defying genius, then Flame City's fortune would increase tremendously. In the sky-reaching continent, the birth of a super genius was a huge boost to any city. After the fiery immortal saber's breakthrough, he could faintly feel that Dark Knight Elon was also showing signs of a breakthrough. This was the fortune brought about by a monstrous genius like Yang Hongwu. Of course, this was a benefit that only the city lord could get. You want to injure me? Yang Hongwu smiled faintly. His eyes were full of disdain. You? What a joke. Having said that, Yang Hongwu raised his hand and struck out with a finger. Jingshin finger. This attack instantly collided with the elder's attack and scattered it. Such an overbearing punch was actually easily dispersed by this finger. Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes widened. What kind of magical battle technique was that? It was actually so powerful. One had to know that the attack of the Flame City Elder just now was comparable to the attack of Sovereign Realm Expert. However, Yang Hongwu's finger attack didn't seem to have any breathtaking aspects, nor did it have any world-shaking might. Yet, it just so happened that, however, it didn't seem to have any earth-shattering power because this finger easily dispersed the attack that the Elder from Flame City had condensed with all his strength. In fact, only Yang Hongwu himself knew how much strength he had used up in that attack. Although he had blocked that attack, he didn't feel good either. He had used up a lot of energy. The impact of that attack had been transferred to the common people's great world by him. In Yang Hongwu's inner world, there was a sea region in the common people's great world. The sky waves and a small island were directly shattered by that domineering power and turned into nothingness. The impact of this attack had greatly depleted Yang Hongwu's mental energy. If he were to unleash another attack like this, it would be quite a big blow to him. If there were 3 attacks like that in a row, Yang Hongwu would be injured. After all, it was an attack that an Emperor expert had used up his life force. If it was really so easy to block, then it would be too easy. After all, he was only in the Divine Emperor realm now. If he could reach the Emperor realm, then it would be a different story. Now you can die. Having said that, a divine light burst out from Yang Hongwu's eyes. This divine light instantly enveloped the Elder's body. In an instant, the Elder's body turned into nothingness and disappeared. Dead. An Emperor Realm Elder was killed by Yang Hongwu with a glance. Everyone present sucked in a breath of cold air. Terrifying. Killing with a glance. This was an eye technique, a supreme eye technique. In the divine light that burst out from Yang Hongwu, Fire Immortal Blade and the others felt a huge pressure. This was a supreme pressure that came from the soul. This eye technique was definitely not simple. Fire Immortal Blade, Fire Immortal Kwang, and Fire Immortal Huang were incomparably envious. Chapter 1864. Killing with a single glance. This mystique was too terrifying. It had to be said that this time, everyone was shocked and frightened. Flame City's remaining elders all couldn't help retreating a few steps. They were afraid that Yang Hongwu would use this supreme eye technique to attack them. Master, kill this beast. Huo Shenquang was pleasantly surprised to see Yang Hongwu's prowess. He did not expect his master to have such a trick up his sleeve. It seemed like his master had hidden a lot of trump cards during the battle. Powerful, too powerful. Moreover, he was now Yang Hongwu's servant. This was a fact that could not be changed. Moreover, he now knew how powerful Yang Hongwu was and how terrifying his potential was. Perhaps becoming Yang Hongwu's servant wasn't a bad thing after all. Yang Hongwu, I admit that you're strong. However, if you push us too far, you won't be able to gain any benefits. Why don't we mind our own business and walk our own paths without interfering with each other? How about that? Fiery Immortal Blade said. I've already said that it's impossible. Of course, unless you're willing to be my servant. Otherwise, only death awaits you. Yang Hongwu looked at Fiery Immortal Blade. This fellow was frightened by him from the start. He had long lost his will to fight. For a martial artist, losing his will to fight was the most dangerous thing to do, especially when facing an enemy. Losing one's will to fight meant losing one's vigor. Even if one had an advantage in cultivation, without vigor, it was impossible to win. There were many times when some warriors were at an absolute disadvantage, but they were still able to turn the tables around. They were able to win with fewer people, and they were able to win with the weak. This was because of their determination, their willpower, and more importantly, their fighting spirit. They were willing to fight to the death and fight to the end, and they would definitely win the battle. It was related. At this moment, Fiery Immortal Blade was in a state where he had no will to fight and no desire to win. Even if he was facing someone of the same cultivation realm and strength, he had no chance of winning. Intolerable bullying. Intolerable bullying. Before the immortal flame saber could say anything, the elders next to him were all enraged. Although they were also afraid of death, Yang Hongwu's words were too arrogant. He didn't take them seriously at all. Moreover, according to Yang Hongwu's words, Yang Hongwu would not let him go. Since that was the case, since he knew that he would die, why not fight to the death? Furthermore, there were only 5 of them, while they had so many people on their side. In addition, the city lord had the support of Flame City. If they were to really fight, they might not necessarily lose. That's right, city lord. Let's fight it out with him. The fiery immortal saber couldn't hold it in any longer. He had already swallowed his pride twice. It could even be said that he was begging for mercy. However, this brat still wouldn't let him go. This was clearly not giving him any face and wanted to fight to the death. Just what do you want? Even so, Inferno Immortal Blade held himself back. Yang Hongwu was particularly surprised. Was this guy a Ninja Turtle? She had already said so, yet he could still hold it in? Not simple. This was truly not simple. What do I want? Yang Hongwu's lips curled into a smile. This smile was filled with killing intent. Looking at this, Fire Immortal Huang knew that things weren't going well. This was bad. This was really killing intent. One had to know that the Inferno Immortal Saber was the key to his contract transfer secret skill. If not for that, he wouldn't have channeled his own source of energy into the Inferno Immortal Saber's body for him to break through. If he were to be killed by Yang Hongwu at this moment, all of his calculations would be for naught. I'm going to kill you. The moment Yang Hongwu's words came out, his body disappeared from where he was. The next time he appeared, he was already before the Inferno Immortal Saber. The Inferno Immortal Saber's face changed. As for Fire Immortal Huang, he wanted to stop him, but there was nothing he could do. Immortal Cloud Strike. Yang Hongwu shouted softly. A powerful and domineering force burst out and instantly bombarded the Inferno Immortal Saber. The Inferno Immortal Saber had already prepared for it. The moment Yang Hongwu appeared before him, the Inferno Immortal Saber moved. His body flashed as he tried to avoid Yang Hongwu's attack. However, Yang Hongwu's speed was simply too fast. Although this attack had avoided his vital parts, one of his arms was still hit by Yang Hongwu. This domineering force sent him flying. The Inferno Immortal Saber crawled up and took a deep breath. With a thought, a majestic spiritual power burst out. The corner of his mouth curled into a smile as he looked at Yang Hongwu and said, "Kid, I thought you were very strong. Seems like this is all there is to it. Although your speed is fast, your attack power is too weak. Although this attack managed to hit me, it only left me with a light injury." Even though this was just a probing attack, the Inferno Immortal Saber could tell that Yang Hongwu wasn't as strong as he had imagined. He wasn't as terrifying and undefeatable as he had imagined. Everyone attacked together and kill him. The Inferno Immortal Saber had regained his confidence after the previous exchange. He shouted loudly to the people of Flame City behind him. Only Yang Hongwu himself knew that the previous attack had been intentional. This was because during this period of time, Yang Hongwu had already refined a portion of the world seed that he had suppressed in the common people's great world. This meant that he could mobilize a portion of the power of the Divine Flame Mountain. Although this place was still some distance away from the Divine Flame Mountain, it was already within the range of the Divine Flame Mountain. The nomological power of the Divine Flame Mountain could envelop this place. As the city lord of the Flame City, the Inferno Immortal Saber could indeed mobilize the power of the Flame City. However, compared to the nomological power of the Divine Flame Mountain, the nomological power of the Flame City wasn't worth mentioning. Even if it was truly within the Flame City, the nomological power of the Divine Flame Mountain could still completely crush the Flame City. Even if Huo Shenquang and the other two mobilized the origin source and nomological power of the Flame Continent, they still wouldn't be able to compare to the nomological power of the mysterious world seed in the Divine Flame Mountain. This was the difference in level. The suppression brought about by the difference in level between planes. The plane level of the Flame Continent was at most equivalent to a deity plane. However, the level of this mysterious world seed was too high. Yang Hongwu even guessed that the level of this world seed was comparable to the inner world of the self-defense Divine Home Master. Chapter 1865. Yang Hongwu couldn't help but laugh. Trying to sneak an attack on him? That was impossible. You want to kill me with that little ability of yours? You must be dreaming. Yang Hongwu laughed and punched out fiercely. It was an incomparably tyrannical punch. The power of the punch was as strong as a mountain. In an instant, the fire immortal saber that was sneakily attacking him was sent flying. His saber was also instantly destroyed by Yang Hongwu. What a great saber. It's a pity that it's in your hands. It's like casting pearls before swine. Yang Hongwu looked at the saber that he had snatched and sighed. It was a great saber. It wasn't much worse than his own Hongmeng saber. Of course, if his Hongmeng saber were to be upgraded again, it would be upgraded again. However, at the very least, this battle saber could still be compared to the Hongmeng saber at the moment. Damn it! The Inferno Immortal Blade had launched a sneak attack and was sent flying in a single move. This left the Inferno Immortal Blade extremely depressed. Not only was he sent flying, but his battle blade was also taken away. Only then did he realize that the gap between him and Yang Hongwu was just too huge. Initially, he thought that Yang Hongwu's attack didn't cause much damage to him. But now, he knew the gap between them. This young man was extremely strong. He didn't know how strong he was. At least, he was far from being a match for him. "Who are you?" the fiery immortal saber shouted. "Who am I?" Yang Hongwu chuckled. "That's not important. What's important is that you could die now." Having said that, Yang Hongwu was about to attack. "Hold on." At this moment, Fire God Huang spoke. "Master, it's a pity to kill this guy. Why don't you let him be my follower and work for you?" Fire God Huang wasn't stupid. If the fiery immortal saber was killed, not only would his plan fail, he wouldn't be able to get his origin energy back. Wouldn't that be a huge loss? Therefore, he had to stop Yang Hongwu from killing the fire immortal saber. Under normal circumstances, the immortal fire blade would never have agreed. He would have even scolded Lin Fan directly. However, at this moment, the immortal fire blade no longer had the courage to speak. He didn't want to die. Now that this guy had spoken, he wouldn't give up even if there was a glimmer of hope. As for becoming Fire God Huang's follower, it was nothing to him. Fire God Huang was no match for him. Even if Fire God Huang recovered his cultivation, he wouldn't be much stronger than him. Furthermore, for the Inferno Immortal Saber, survival was the most important thing right now. Everything else had to be cast aside. You want him to be your attendant? When Yang Hongwu heard the Fire God Huang's words, he squinted his eyes and looked at him. This guy seemed to have some ideas. Yang Hongwu could tell that he didn't want the Fire Immortal Blade to die. Meanwhile, Yang Hongwu unleashed his eye technique onto the Fire Immortal Saber and the Fire Godly Emperor. With this, all the secrets of the Fire Immortal Saber and the Fire God Huang were exposed to Yang Hongwu. To his surprise, he realized that the Fire God Huang's origin was being transferred to the Fire Immortal Saber bit by bit. This scene left Yang Hongwu flabbergasted. Not simple. This was really not simple. There was a huge secret between the Fire God Huang and the Fire Immortal Saber. This huge secret was also the reason why the Fire God Huang didn't want Lin Fan to kill the Fire Immortal Saber. Yes, young master, if you have a sovereign like the Fire Immortal Saber as your attendant, things will be much faster for you, the Fire God Huang said. At this moment, he was extremely worried. If Yang Hongwu was enraged and killed the Fire Immortal Saber, things would be bad. The problem now was that the Fire Immortal Saber couldn't escape from this place. If he could, that would be great. However, the Fire God Huang realized that this space had been sealed. Just like before, they were sealed in a small space by Yang Hongwu. In this space, Yang Hongwu was the only god, the only ruler. In this small space, he was invincible. You're my servant. A servant wants a follower? Yang Hongwu said coldly. Also, do you really think that I can't see through your little tricks? Hearing Yang Hongwu's words, the Fire God Huang's expression changed slightly. His heart skipped a beat. Could it be that Yang Hongwu had seen through his secret technique? No, that's impossible. His secret technique was extremely powerful. Moreover, before it was completed, he wouldn't reveal it. Even if his cultivation had surpassed the sovereign realm, he wouldn't be able to see through it. Young master, I don't know what you're talking about. I wouldn't dare to act smart in front of you. The Fire God Huang quickly said. Don't you want to talk about your relationship with the Fire Immortal Saber? Yang Hongwu asked. Young master, I don't want to see you kill the Fire Immortal Saber. In fact, the Fire Immortal Saber is a genius that I nurtured myself. He's like my own son. Of course, I don't want to see him die like this. However, he has offended you and deserves to die. However, I hope that you can give me some face. Moreover, the Fire Immortal Saber is a decent genius with outstanding abilities. If he helps you, many things will be much easier. The Fire God Huang paused for a moment before continuing. Moreover, you can't stay in Flame City forever. As such, Flame City needs a spokesperson. The Fire Immortal Saber is just right for the job. After all, he didn't get to the main point. He didn't explain the true relationship between the Fire Immortal Saber and him. The Fire God Huang's words were 30% true and 70% false. How could Yang Hongwu not understand? Are you done? Yang Hongwu said coldly. Hearing Yang Hongwu's tone, the Fire God Huang was shocked. Did I make a mistake in my words? Did Yang Hongwu notice something? No, that's impossible. The Fire God Huang was very nervous. He was worried that Yang Hongwu would really kill the Fire Immortal Saber. Young master, if you're done, then die. A servant should have the awareness of being a servant. After saying that, Yang Hongwu raised his right hand and condensed a terrifying light ball. This light ball contained a destructive power. The Fire God Huang felt the threat of death, and the Fire Immortal Saber was the same as the Fire Immortal Saber. Both of them felt the aura of death in this light ball. If they were hit by it, they would definitely die. Chapter 1866. What's going on? Inferno Immortal Blade was shocked. He had not expected his body to go out of control, especially the energy in his body. However, Inferno Immortal Blade was a city lord after all. How could someone who could grow to such an extent be a fool? If he still couldn't figure out that he had been tricked, he would be an idiot. To think that I, the city lord of Flame City, would be reduced to a pawn. Inferno, Immortal Blade, could feel the energy in his body going out of control. He realized that he had lost control of his soul as well. He knew that today would be his doomsday. Inferno, Immortal Huang, did not say anything. The moment Yang Hongwu's light ball hit him, he transferred his soul to Inferno, Immortal Blade, and his physical body was instantly detonated by him. He detonated his physical body, releasing a shocking amount of energy towards Yang Hongwu. This was his last resort. After successfully controlling Inferno, Immortal Blade's physical body, he did not stop. He did not expect that the explosion of his physical body could injure or even kill Yang Hongwu. The possibility was too slim. Run, run. Inferno, Immortal Huang did not hesitate to run away. Only by running away could he have a chance of survival. What a supreme secret skill. Yang Hongwu squinted his eyes. This secret skill was extremely powerful. To think that it could transfer the servant contract directly. One should know that the servant contract could not be removed even if one gave up their physical body for possession, unless one had unparalleled strength. Only with absolute strength could it be possible to remove the contract. However, Fire God Huang had actually managed to do it. He didn't have the strength to forcefully remove the contract. Instead, he had used a secret technique, a powerful secret technique, to remove his servant contract after possession. Looking at the back of Inferno Immortal Blade, no, Inferno Immortal Huang, Yang Hongwu squinted his eyes. He was too naive to think that he could escape. However, Yang Hongwu did not stop him. If Yang Hongwu wanted to, he could have sealed the space and brought Inferno Immortal Huang back. Huo Xingquang, the Dark Knight Goddess, and the others were bewildered by the sudden turn of events. Huo Xingquang. Only when Yang Hongwu spoke did Huo Xingquang and the others regain their senses. Young master, Huo Xingquang was truly afraid that Yang Hongwu would take his anger out on him. He had naturally felt everything that Huo Xinghuang had done, but he had never thought that Huo Xingsaber would become his chess piece and be possessed by him. The fire god Yellow broke the servant contract. Do you know what kind of secret technique it was? Yang Hongwu asked. In fact, Yang Hongwu guessed that Huo Xingquang probably didn't know about it. If he did, he probably would have used it too. After all, no one wanted to be someone else's slave and have their life and death controlled by someone else. Hearing Yang Hongwu's words, Huo Xingquang instantly panicked. He hurriedly said, "Young master, I don't know where he learned such a strange technique." Seeing Huo Xingquang so nervous, Yang Hongwu patted his shoulder and said, "Don't worry, I'm just asking. It's not a big deal if you don't know. I won't kill you just because you don't know." "Thank you, young master." Huo Xingquang breathed a sigh of relief after hearing Yang Hongwu's words. He really didn't want to die. If he wasn't afraid of death, he wouldn't have agreed to become Yang Hongwu's servant. Let's go to Flame City. Let's see what gave Huo Xinghuang the confidence to betray me. Yang Hongwu looked in the direction of Flame City, his eyes shining brightly. Flame City, although it was not a large city, and even the Flame Continent was only an ordinary world, it was not a big city. However, Yang Hongwu felt that if he wanted to refine Flame City and the Flame Continent, the mysterious world seed he obtained would undergo unexpected changes. His karmic fire of the Red Lotus would also be greatly enhanced. Flame City would also be his first stop on the path to dominating Skyspan. Although Yang Hongwu didn't have the determination to control Skyspan, that didn't mean he didn't want to try. Although he wanted to leave as soon as possible, it wasn't impossible to leave a few servants behind to control Skyspan. If possible, he really wanted to devour the entire Skyspan Devour and refine it. However, he was worried that he'd arouse the displeasure of the Zhiga Divine Hall Master, or even cause Zhiga to attack him. That wouldn't be good. Zhiga's strength wasn't something he could deal with right now. Yang Hongwu estimated that if Zhiga really did attack him, he could probably kill him with a thought. Even the mysterious power in his body wouldn't be able to save him. Therefore, it was best to dispel this thought as soon as possible. As for controlling Skyspan, that wasn't a big deal. For an expert at Zhiga's level, as long as it didn't escape his control, it was fine. Soon, the group of 4 arrived at the outskirts of the Flame City. Looking at the majestic city in front of him and its towering walls, Yang Hongwu couldn't help but sigh. Flame City was indeed much more prosperous and powerful than Anya City. Flame City contained a powerful force. That was the source of Flame City's power. If this force were to erupt, it would definitely be able to kill an ordinary sovereign. Flame City is completely devoid of life, Yang Hongwu said. Huo Shenquang's face was ashen. As one of the ancestors of Flame City, he naturally sensed the changes in Flame City. That damn beast, he's actually so perverse. What do you mean? Anya Shinv and Huo Tung didn't know what had happened in Flame City to cause such expressions on their faces. Flame City is already a dead city, Yang Hongwu said. Hua Shenwang's strength has already reached its peak. I'm going to kill him. Huo Shenquang roared. Ha, you're here. Hua Shenwang appeared on top of the city walls. The gates of Flame City opened, and Hua Shenwang's figure appeared. His aura was extremely powerful and wild. Beneath his feet was a throne built from piles of corpses. Hua Shenwang had completely turned into a demon. He turned Flame City into a dead city. Chapter 1867. Bastard! Why do I have such a brother? What a sin! Hua Shenquang shouted. He glared at Hua Shenwang, but there was nothing he could do. The current Hua Shenhuang wasn't someone he could deal with. His strength had reached a terrifying level, not to mention his cultivation base. Even if he was at his peak, he wouldn't be a match for him. If I knew this day would come, I wouldn't have saved you. Big brother, you my big brother. It's not too late to submit to me. Hua Shenwang said. Arrogant. Do you really think you're invincible just because your cultivation base has improved? Yang Hongwu looked at Hua Shenwang and snorted. This guy was too arrogant. However, Yang Hongwu had to admit that Hua Shenwang was cold-blooded. Everyone in Flame City was killed by him. He didn't even leave a single living thing alive. How cold-blooded could he be to do that? If it were him, the enemy of Flame City would also not be able to completely exterminate all life in Flame City and wipe them out completely. Whether I'm invincible or not, I don't know. However, I can still kill all of you. Kid, if you're willing to submit to me, I can make you my servant. Hua Shenwang looked at Yang Hongwu and said. In Hua Shenwang's heart, this guy forcefully took him in as his servant. This time, he wanted to take Yang Hongwu in as his servant. Of course, if Yang Hongwu didn't agree, he would kill him. The current fire god Huang was brimming with confidence. His immense power made him look down on everything, not putting anyone in his eyes. What a joke, Yang Hongwu said. A demon who has lost his sense of self dares to say such arrogant words in front of me. You really don't know how high the heavens are. Yang Hongwu's body emitted a strong aura. His entire body was covered in a layer of golden light. This was the supreme righteous Qi, the purest energy in the world. This energy was the nemesis of all evil people. It was the nemesis of all demonic cultivators. As for the fire god Yellow, he had already turned into a demon, and his body was filled with boundless karma. When Yang Hongwu released this kind of aura, the fire god Yellow was extremely disgusted. As a demon, it was natural for him to loathe righteous energy, especially since Yang Hongwu had the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. The karmic fire of the Red Lotus was even more effective against people with karma. It just so happened that the fire god Yellow Emperor had massacred all the living beings in the Flame City. The negative karma in his body was naturally incomparably terrifying. Little bastard, you are courting death. In that case, I will grant your wish. Do you really think that I'm still the old me? Today, I will kill you first before killing them. As he spoke, fire god Huang attacked. His entire body was covered by a layer of terrifying demonic qi, turning into a ferocious giant demon. With ferocious eyes, he pounced on Yang Hongwu. Wherever the sharp claws went, everything was destroyed and shattered. Seeing this, Huo Shenquang was shocked and shouted, "Be careful! Everyone back off! You guys back off first. I will deal with him." Yang Hongwu said to Anya Shenv, Hua Tung, and the other two beside him. You, be careful. Anya Shenv knew that Yang Hongwu must have the ability to protect himself if he dared to do this. Hence, He nodded and turned around to leave. Huateng and Huo Shenquang retreated as well. They did not have the ability to defend against such a terrifying attack from the fire god Yellow Emperor. Demon Vanquishing Finger. Yang Hongwu's eyes shone with a cold light as he gathered his spiritual power. He raised his right hand slightly, and a gigantic finger appeared in front of him. With a single finger, the demonic chi was extinguished wherever it went. The dense demonic aura instantly dissipated under the golden finger. Red Lotus Karmic Fire, go. Karmic fire burned the heavens. Yang Hongwu roared again, and a ball of fire burst out, covering the entire sky. This was the karmic fire, the Red Lotus Karmic Fire, which could burn all karmic power. When it came into contact with someone with heavy karmic power, it would burn even more fiercely, unable to be extinguished. Furthermore, the fire god Yellow Emperor's karma was already very high. Furthermore, he had destroyed the entire Flame City. As such, his karma had reached a terrifying level. The Red Lotus Karmic Fire was like adding oil to a fire. It would burn even more fiercely, unable to be extinguished. Oomph, you want to burn me to death with a mere karmic fire? What a joke. However, the fire god Yellow Emperor was very powerful now. Although the Red Lotus Karmic Fire was terrifying, the Red Lotus Karmic Fire was too weak now. The Red Lotus Karmic Fire was not enough to kill the fire god Yellow Emperor. The fire god Yellow Emperor opened his mouth and spat out a black demonic chi. The moment the demonic chi landed on the karmic fire wilted. Then, the fire god Yellow Emperor dodged, avoiding the powerful karmic fire. Little bastard, your karmic fire is really terrifying. Now I understand why the people of Flame City couldn't even withstand a single blow from you. It's because of the karmic fire. The karmic fire is known as the king of all fires. How could an ordinary divine fire harm you? Hua Shenhuang narrowed his eyes and stared at Yang Hongwu. If it was in the past, he would be somewhat afraid. However, his strength was no longer the same as before. Not only did he recover his cultivation, but he also received a huge boost on top of the support from the Flame City's origin energy. Now, even if he couldn't suppress a late Sovereign Realm expert, he wouldn't be weak. Yang Hongwu's strength was far from that level. So what if he had the karmic fire? If he didn't care, he could still kill him. A genius who hadn't matured was nothing. At this moment, the fire god Yellow Emperor's eyes flickered with boundless greed. Not only did he want to kill Yang Hongwu, but he also wanted to steal his opportunity, his luck, and the supreme treasures on his body. Yang Hongwu, a mere divine emperor, was able to fight against a Sovereign Realm expert. He could even kill an ordinary Sovereign Realm expert. Other than the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, he must have other powerful trump cards. Of course, luck was one of them. As long as he could kill Yang Hongwu, his luck would rise to an unprecedented level. Of course, he also knew that if he wasn't careful, he might suffer a terrifying backlash. However, he wasn't afraid now because he wasn't cultivating the Tao anymore. He was cultivating the Tao of the Devil. He had entered the Tao of the Devil. He knew it clearly. Chapter 1868. Just you. Yang Hongwu's eyes were filled with disdain. I admit that there are people who can kill me in the sky-reaching continent, but it's definitely not you. Yang Hongwu was extremely confident when he said that. The sky-reaching continent was a mysterious place. There were as many strong cultivators as there were clouds in the sky. For example, the sky-reaching ruler was extremely strong and terrifying. However, Fire God Huang couldn't possibly be the only one who could kill him, even if he had turned into a devil, even if his cultivation base had become extremely strong. It was still impossible. Can't kill you. Fire God Huang snorted coldly. His eyes were filled with terrifying killing intent. He moved extremely quickly, reaching the limit of what an ordinary emperor could see with the naked eye. His terrifying aura enveloped the entire Flame City. A heaven-devouring, giant demon moved. It opened its ferocious mouth and bit towards Yang Hongwu. This mouth could devour the heavens and earth. The giant demon released a terrifying suction force from its mouth, swallowing everything around it. Nothing could resist the suction force. Fire God Kuang and the others' faces changed. They were far away, but they could not resist the suction force. They were getting closer and closer to the giant demon's mouth. If this continued, they would not be able to resist the suction force. They would be devoured by the giant demon that Fire God Huang had transformed into. Only Yang Hongwu's face remained unchanged. Looking at the ferocious giant demon, Yang Hongwu did not care at all. Nine Heavens Fortune, Evil Slayer Grand Array. Yang Hongwu yelled out softly. With a wave of his right hand, a scroll appeared. This was the scroll of good fortune. The moment it appeared, it exploded with an unparalleled amount of power. A huge array shot up into the sky. This was the Nine Heavens Fortune, Evil Slayer Grand Array. The power of fortune was the nemesis of evil. In addition, Yang Hongwu used the scroll of fortune as the eye of the array. Not only that, but Yang Hongwu also used the fortune divine tree. The scroll of good fortune and the divine tree of fortune were one of Yang Hongwu's trump cards. Now, in order to deal with the Fire God Huang, Yang Hongwu had no choice but to use his two trump cards. The moment Yang Hongwu activated the array formation, the giant devil was trapped. That terrifying, devouring power was instantly stopped. Damn it, what kind of formation is this? It can actually stop me? Fire God Huang's expression changed greatly. He roared, "Little bastard, do you think this array can stop me? No, that's impossible. My strength is beyond your imagination. I'm invincible." With a furious roar, the fire god Yellow crazily attacked the devil-slaying grand formation laid out by Yang Hongwu. However, if Yang Hongwu's array formation could be broken so easily, then it wouldn't be the Nine Heavens Fortune Evil Slayer Grand Array. Fire God Huang, it doesn't matter if you become a demon or not. In the end, you are still my defeated opponent and my servant. This is something that cannot be changed. If I want you to die, you must die. No one can stop me. Yang Hongwu laughed and loudly said, "This is destined. No one can stop it." Yang Hongwu laughed and loudly said, "This is destined. Not even the Tao can change it." Having said that, Yang Hongwu activated the array formation. The power of fortune exploded, instantly forming a huge devil-slaying saber. Devil-slaying saber of the great Tao. This is impossible. Fire God Huang's face changed when he saw the massive war blade in the void. Rumor had it that there was a terrifying saber in the myriad of worlds. This saber was harmless to ordinary people. However, it was extremely terrifying to devils. It was the devil-slaying saber of the great Tao. Once the devil-slaying saber of the great Tao was unleashed, no devil could withstand it. Only the legendary undying Tao demon would be able to withstand it. A demon that even the Tao couldn't kill. However, he was just a giant devil. How could he withstand the devil-slaying saber of the great Tao? The moment the devil-slaying saber appeared, his soul trembled. Fake. This must be fake. The giant devil that Fire God Huang transformed into roared. His sharp claws clawed at the devil-slaying saber. So what if it's the devil-slaying saber? Even if it's the devil-slaying saber, I'll destroy it. I'm invincible. I'm indestructible. Indestructible? Invincible? Yang Hongwu chuckled. No one in the great thousand cosmos would dare to say that they were invincible and immortal. Even Jigu, the lord of Jigu Divine Hall, would not dare to say that he was invincible and immortal. A mere ruler that had turned into a demon dared to be so arrogant. Wasn't he courting death by saying that he was invincible and indestructible? Since you're indestructible, I'll destroy you. As soon as Yang Hongwu said that, the demon-slaying blade in the array formation burst forth with a dazzling light. The sharp claws of the fire god Yellow that had transformed into a troll instantly dissipated under that light. Damn it! Fire god Huang shrieked. The claws were formed from his origin source. Now that they were dissipated, it naturally caused him great damage. Die! Yang Hongwu wouldn't give Fire God Huang any time to breathe. The devil-slaying saber slashed at Fire God Huang once again. Fire God Huang sensed that something was wrong and wanted to dodge. However, if he could dodge the devil-slaying saber, would it still be the devil-slaying saber that could slay all demons? Fire God Huang couldn't dodge it. He heard a crisp crack. The blade landed on the body of the fire god, Yellow's giant devil form. In an instant, the terrifying giant devil was cut into two halves. Although the giant devil was slain, it didn't mean that fire god Huang was dead. The devil-slaying saber had only slain the demonic origin source within fire god Huang's body. In other words, the demon within his body had been slashed out. The pure demonic origin source was devoured by Yang Hongwu using the devouring furnace. This demonic origin source was extremely helpful to Yang Hongwu. It allowed Yang Hongwu's cultivation to rise by a small level. Yang Hongwu's aura rose as a result. As for fire god Huang, his demonic origin was severed, and he returned to his original appearance. However, his aura was weak, and his cultivation had dropped drastically. At this moment, he no longer had the aura of a ruler. He was just a mere god-emperor martialist. Moreover, he was severely injured. Compared to before, his aura was like heaven and earth. He was just like an ant now. After his demonic origin source was slashed, fire god Huang's consciousness was completely awakened. He had lost his original ambition. He looked at Yang Hongwu and smiled bitterly in his heart. He was very clear about the grave sins he had committed. The entire Flame City had been destroyed by him. His sins were grave. Chapter 1869. Of course I'll kill you. Yang Hongwu did not hesitate and pointed his finger. Fire god Huang wanted to dodge the attack. Although he had regained his consciousness and was no longer under the control of the demonic nature, he did not want to die. He could not help but dodge when Yang Hongwu was about to kill him. However, he was already heavily injured. Moreover, how could he possibly dodge Yang Hongwu's attack when he was in the middle of the formation? This finger instantly pierced through his glabella, and even his soul was completely destroyed by this finger. Huashen Kuang couldn't bear to see Huashen Huang die. After all, Huashen Huang was his younger brother. Now, he was the only one left from the fiery continent with his two brothers. After slaying the fire god emperor, a lot of merit points fell from the void. Yang Hongwu was shocked. Merit points. He did not expect that killing fire god Huang would give him merit points. In fact, Yang Hongwu did not care about the so-called merit points. However, Huashen Kuang was envious of the merit points that were bestowed upon him. Merit points. This is merit points. Congratulations, young master. It's just some merit points. Yang Hongwu asked when he saw Huashen Kuang's shock. What's there to be envious of? Yang Hongwu could see that Huashen Kuang was envious. Young master, you may not know this, but it is very difficult to gain merit in the sky-reaching land. The more merit you have, the easier it will be for you to pass the path to heaven. If you have a lot of bad karma and no merit, you will encounter a terrifying test. Vulcan Kuang said, let's put it this way. After entering the path of heavenly ascension, those who don't have merit but have great karma may encounter life and death crises casually on the road. However, those who have merit are different. They seem to be favored by the path of heavenly ascension. Not only will they not encounter life and death crises, but they will also it is easy to obtain benefits and opportunities. Yang Hongwu was surprised. He did not expect such an interesting thing to happen in the path to heaven. Karma and merit. It was easy to obtain karma, but it was not easy to obtain merit. Doesn't that mean that if you have enough merit, it'll be easy to pass the path to heaven? Anya Shen asked. Huo Shenquang shook his head and said, it's not that easy. Even though virtuous people would have a smooth journey on the path, it's definitely not an easy task. Virtuous people would only have an easy time passing the first stage. Once you enter the second stage, everyone will be at the same starting line again. However, it doesn't mean that those who have more merit won't need to take the test. It's still very far away. Yang Hongwu said, let's go. Let's enter Flame City and take a look. There are some things I need in Flame City. Huashen Kuang hesitated for a moment, but didn't say anything. He was worried that what Yang Hongwu wanted was the source of Flame City. That wouldn't be good. However, he didn't know. If Yang Hongwu really wanted to seize the source energy of Flame City, he didn't know how to stop him. Right now, he was only Yang Hongwu's servant. His life and death was in Yang Hongwu's hands. He had no way to stop Yang Hongwu. He sighed deeply. If Flame City's source was taken away, It would mean that the connection between Flame City and Flame Continent would be severed. It would mean that no one from Flame Continent would come to Flame City. This was something he did not want to see. Everyone in the Flame City had been killed by his younger brother, Fire God Huang. If the Flame City's source was taken away, then it would be over. Moreover, the Flame Continent would also be implicated, and the source of the Flame Continent would be damaged. After all, they knew that Flame City and Flame Continent were closely connected. If Flame City was destroyed, it would have a huge impact on Flame Continent. After all, Sky-reaching Continent was much more advanced than Flame Continent. Flame Continent could be upgraded through Flame City. In Flame Continent, there was a divine palace. That divine palace was connected to Flame City on Sky-reaching Continent. This meant that cultivating in that divine palace was the same as absorbing the spiritual energy of Flame City. In this way, one's cultivation would naturally be much faster. If the connection was severed, then the divine palace on Flame Continent would be like an ordinary divine palace. It would have no meaning. What a powerful source of Flame City. After Yang Hongwu entered Flame City, he realized that there was no trace of life in the entire city. It was too clean. Nothing was left. He knew very well that everything had been devoured and refined by Hua Shenwei. This was also why Yang Hongwu could increase his cultivation base by a lot after killing Hua Shenwei and refining his source. Even the strength of the Flame Lotus had increased once again. However, what Yang Hongwu hoped for the most was that the world seed could be completely refined by him and merged into the common people's world. However, this wasn't an easy task. After such a long time, Yang Hongwu had only refined a portion of it. He could only use a portion of the Divine Flame Mountain's power. However, this was Flame City. Naturally, he couldn't use the power of the Divine Flame Mountain. If he could use the power of the Divine Flame Mountain in Flame City, it would be much easier for him to deal with Hua Shenwei. After entering Flame City, the World Seed released a strand of information. This information was a desire for something in Flame City. The entire Flame City was now under Yang Hongwu's supreme eye technique. Nothing could escape Yang Hongwu's discerning eyes. Under Flame City's City Lord Mansion, an ancient underground palace appeared before Yang Hongwu. Yang Hongwu waved his hand, and a passageway appeared in the void. This passageway led directly to the underground city. This Flame City actually has another paradise. Hua Teng's eyes widened in disbelief. After all, he was also a member of Flame City. He had never known that there was an underground city under the City Lord Mansion. Hua Teng wasn't the only one surprised. Huo Shenquang was also very surprised. He knew about this underground city. However, he hadn't expected that Yang Hongwu would find the entrance without asking him. Chapter 1870. There's nothing strange about it. Yang Hongwu waved his hand and looked at Huo Shenquang. If it wasn't for his supreme eye technique, he wouldn't have been able to find this place. Yang Hongwu didn't believe that Huo Shenquang didn't know about this underground city. However, he didn't want to. He didn't want to tell himself. Young master, this place is very dangerous. When Huo Shenquang saw Yang Hongwu looking at him, he naturally knew that Yang Hongwu wasn't satisfied with him. After all, he was the old ancestor of Blazing City. There was another city under Blazing City. Generally speaking, it was impossible for him not to know about it. Huo Shenquang hesitated for a moment before speaking. Yes, as the ancestor of Flame City, this underground city might be dangerous, but it shouldn't be able to stop you, right? Yang Hongwu said. Huo Shenquang smiled bitterly and shook his head. Young master, I won't hide it from you. I'm the only one who knows about Flame City's underground city. Even my two brothers don't know about it. This place wasn't built by me. It already existed when Flame City was built. I was the same. I accidentally entered this place once, but I almost couldn't get out that time. Since then, I haven't entered this place again. In fact, Huo Shenquang did want to explore this underground city, but he couldn't enter it. It seemed like a special method or a special opportunity was needed to enter the city. This time, Huo Shenquang was surprised that Yang Hongwu could enter this place so easily. However, he really didn't want to enter this place. Even though he was a sovereign now, he still didn't have the confidence to enter. Therefore, he didn't want to take the risk. Naturally, He didn't want Yang Hongwu to enter the city and take the risk. After all, his life was in Yang Hongwu's hands. If Yang Hongwu died, as a servant of Yang Hongwu, he wouldn't be able to live either. This underground city is so terrifying. Yang Hongwu squinted his eyes. Although the underground city was exposed to his eyes, there seemed to be an invisible force blocking everything in the city. He couldn't see what was inside the city. This force was too mysterious and too powerful. There might really be unknown dangers. Yes, young master, I suspect that this city is connected to a different space, and this space is very special. Huo Xingquang said. This wasn't strange. The sky-reaching continent was connected to thousands of worlds. It wasn't strange for this underground city to be connected to a different world. The worlds connected to the sky-reaching continent varied in strength. Previously, the Dark Night continent could only be considered average. Compared to the Dark Night continent, the Flame continent should be slightly stronger. Moreover, there should be many planes that were stronger than the Flame continent and the Dark Night continent. However, the underground city under the Flame city was a little strange. It was hidden under the Flame city and not exposed to the sky-reaching continent. Yang Hongwu guessed that this underground city might be similar to the current Flame city. The entire city had already become a dead city. Due to some special reason, it had been sealed underground. However, it was still connected to the plane it originally came from. Perhaps this was the only explanation for it. What's the danger below? You said that you've entered the city before and encountered danger. You could tell me more about it. Yang Hongwu said. Huo Xingquang's face turned ugly when he heard this. He looked terrified. Young noble, to tell you the truth, I didn't see anything when I entered the city. However, I felt an inexplicable pressure after entering the city. My life force was slowly draining away. I don't know what was devouring it. If it was in the past, I would have been a little bit stronger. If I had hesitated for a moment, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to come out. Huo Xingquang said. That's strange. You didn't see the other party's shadow? Anya Shin was shocked. If that was the case, it was indeed terrifying. One should know that Huo Xingquang was a sovereign realm expert. If even he couldn't find the enemy, it proved how terrifying the other party was. How powerful was this? A ruler-level expert had almost died without even seeing the enemy. Just how powerful did he have to be to accomplish this? Yes. Huo Xingquang nodded. Therefore, young master, I don't recommend taking the risk in this underground city. Young master, why don't I go down and give it a try? Huo Tang said. If there's really something wrong, I'll come out immediately. Huo Xingquang looked at Huo Tang and said, You're too weak. I was much stronger than you in the past. Moreover, I could mobilize the power of the Flame City. However, after entering the city, I almost died. With your strength, you won't even have the chance to escape. Huo Tang was angry when he saw Huo Xingquang looking down on him. He said, So what if I'm not as strong as you? I'm willing to explore the way for young master. Compared to a coward like you, I'm much better. I'll be of much more help to young master. In fact, Huo Tang was gambling. He was gambling that Yang Hongwu wouldn't abandon him. Once he encountered danger, Yang Hongwu would save him. All right, there's no need to argue. I have my own way to explore the way. Yang Hongwu waved his hand. Yang Hongwu knew what Huo Tang was thinking. However, Yang Hongwu was still surprised that Huo Tang dared to suggest exploring the way. After all, this underground city was very dangerous. If they weren't careful, they could be consigned to eternal damnation. There was indeed a dangerous aura in this underground city, especially the death aura. Yang Hongwu had a familiar feeling about this death aura. It was the aura of the immortal god talisman. This surprised Yang Hongwu. One had to know that he knew how powerful the immortal god talisman was. The 8 great immortal god talismans were divine objects ejected from the Fortune Heavenly Gate. He had encountered the power of the immortal god talisman before, but he had never seen the real immortal god talisman. Chapter 1871. Yang Hongwu's mind stirred, and an incarnation appeared. It was the Qi into Trinity technique. After the incarnation appeared, it entered the underground city. Incarnation technique. Huo Xingquang and the other two were not surprised by this scene. However, Huo Shenquang was still a little worried. Young master, this underground city is very strange. If something happens to the incarnation, it may endanger the real body. You don't have to worry about this. Even if the incarnation dies, it won't be a threat to my real body. Yang Hongwu said. After the incarnation entered the underground city, Yang Hongwu could already feel the strong aura of the immortal deity talisman. After entering the city, Yang Hongwu's incarnation activated the Dharma Eye of Annihilation. Yang Hongwu began to scan the entire underground city. Outside the city, it was difficult for Yang Hongwu to use his Dharma Eye of Annihilation. Moreover, it was also very dangerous. Yang Hongwu was not sure whether he would be discovered by Zhiga if he used his Dharma Eye of Annihilation. Moreover, once Zhiga used his Dharma Eye of Annihilation, if Zhiga discovered him, would he attack him? However, after entering the underground city, Yang Hongwu found that there was a strong and overbearing force that isolated the entire city. It was an independent space. Yang Hongwu felt that his divine sense couldn't penetrate into the city from the outside. This was very strange. After opening his Dharma Eye of Annihilation, Yang Hongwu saw a huge ancient stele in the depths of the city. This ancient stele was engraved with ancient runes, and it was filled with a majestic power. That seemed to be the power of immortality and indestructibility, the power of eternity. The moment he saw the ancient tablet, Yang Hongwu's incarnation collapsed. It couldn't withstand the overbearing power and turned into nothingness. Yang Hongwu took a deep breath, his eyes full of shock. Young master, what did you see? After seeing Yang Hongwu's body tremble, the expression on his face was very strange. An ancient tablet, Yang Hongwu said. It's a huge, ancient stele that's filled with majestic power. It contains an aura of immortality and indestructibility. Ancient monolith. Everyone was stunned. Was there only one ancient monolith in the entire underground city? This was a little surprising. What kind of ancient tablet was it? It was actually in such a terrifying underground city. Moreover, according to Yang Hongwu's words, this ancient tablet was very terrifying. It was full of immortal and indestructible aura. What was the origin of this ancient tablet? It was indeed very curious. However, if Yang Hongwu was so nervous, this ancient tablet must be very terrifying. Yes, it's an ancient tablet, but I suspect that it's a talisman, a terrifying talisman, a legendary divine talisman. Yang Hongwu said, Divine talisman? Huo Shenquang narrowed his eyes. I've heard that in the ancient times, there were 8 great divine talismans. These 8 great divine talismans were ancient divine objects that were ejected from the ancient fortune heavenly gate. They were incomparably powerful. Anyone who could obtain the recognition of a divine talisman could obtain supreme power, becoming a peerless expert, surpassing the sovereign realm. You've heard of it? Yang Hongwu looked at Huo Shenquang and asked. I've heard of it. Rumor has it that our blazing mainland's ancestor god obtained a divine talisman and established the blazing mainland. Huo Shenquang nodded. Your blazing mainland's ancestor god had obtained a divine talisman? Yang Hongwu was even more curious. However, obtaining a divine talisman wasn't impossible. There were 8 great divine talismans in the myriad of worlds. Moreover, Yang Hongwu suspected that he had been in the divine realm. In the divine realm, the news of the 8 great divine talismans, or the aura of the 8 great divine talismans that he had encountered, were just imitations. It's just a rumor. I don't know whether it's true or not. Huo Shenquang said. However, it's very likely to be true. Yang Hongwu was very tempted by this answer. Yang Hongwu even had a guess that the blazing mainland might have been created by this divine talisman. This wasn't impossible. If the entire blazing mainland was a divine talisman, then Yang Hongwu was really tempted. If there's a divine talisman in this underground city, then we can definitely give it a try. However, this underground city is too dangerous. Huo Shenquang said. In fact, Huo Shenquang was also very tempted when he heard Yang Hongwu say that the thing in this underground city might be a divine talisman. However, he knew his own limits. Such a supreme treasure wasn't something that could be obtained by just anyone. Those who didn't have luck wouldn't be able to obtain it. If one wanted to forcefully obtain the recognition of such a supreme treasure, not only would he fail to obtain it, but he would also suffer a terrible backlash. The backlash of a divine talisman was very terrifying. Previously, the mysterious seed had already made them suffer a lot. Therefore, even if Wo Shenquang knew that it was a divine talisman, he would never take the risk. Moreover, he was now Yang Hongwu's servant. If something happened to Yang Hongwu, he would also die. However, if Yang Hongwu didn't die, he would have no chance at all. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes and said, "If it's a divine talisman, then we have to take the risk. Isn't it too risky?" Anya Shen asked. Of course, she had heard of the divine talisman before. Divine talisman, how powerful and terrifying it was. Even if she knew that there was a divine talisman in front of her, it was absolutely not easy to get it. Only if one's strength was incomparably powerful could he forcefully take the divine talisman away. However, it was also very difficult to obtain its recognition. What kind of supreme treasure was the divine talisman? To be able to obtain the recognition of a divine talisman, one would need to have great talent and luck. Therefore, ordinary people wouldn't even think about it. It was simply impossible. Anya Shen knew that she would never be able to obtain it. Even if the divine talisman was placed in front of her, she wouldn't be able to obtain it. It was said that the power of a divine talisman surpassed that of a sovereign realm expert. Therefore, even a peak sovereign realm expert would have to pay a huge price if they wanted to forcefully obtain a divine talisman. Therefore, when she heard that Yang Hongwu said that it would be very dangerous to enter the city to take a look, she was very worried. Chapter 1872. That's for sure. Yang Hongwu said, "If there's no danger, it's impossible to obtain such an opportunity. If there's no danger, how can there be such a good thing in the world?" Yang Hongwu smiled indifferently. He knew about Anya Shen's worries. It was a huge temptation for anyone. However, to obtain such an opportunity, one had to take a huge risk. I mean, if there really is one of the 8 great divine talismans in here, one would attract the attention of others if we take it, the goddess of the dark night added. After all, once a supreme treasure like the divine talisman appears, it will definitely cause a huge commotion. At that time, all the experts of the Heavenspan continent will be affected. All the experts of the heavenly realm will definitely know about it. Huo Shenquang nodded and said, "Young master, Miss Yi is right. This is indeed possible. Once a divine object appears, there will definitely be a huge change in the world. In that case, it will definitely attract the attention of the experts of the heavenly realm. At that time, we may not be able to obtain the divine talisman. Therefore, I think we should still plan for the long term and make a good arrangement. What you said is not without reason. However, how can we obtain a supreme treasure like the divine talisman without paying a certain price?" Yang Hongwu said with a smile. Yang Hongwu had already thought of what they had said. Therefore, Yang Hongwu had already arranged a formation outside the city. This formation was called the Isolation Formation. This formation had sealed the entire Flame City in an independent space, completely isolating it from the outside world. Needless to say, the people of the sky-reaching continent will be able to see through this formation as well. Even the Lord of the War, God Divine Palace, War God, would not be able to discover what they were doing. Don't worry, I've already arranged it. Now, Flame City has been sealed off by me, isolating it from the outside world. So young master has already made arrangements. That's great. Hearing Yang Hongwu's words, Hua Tung said happily. Anya Shen nodded. She knew that Yang Hongwu wouldn't do something that he wasn't confident in. She only asked because she wanted to be sure. After all, this wasn't a joke. If they failed, they would be doomed eternally. They had to be careful. Don't worry, let's go in, Yang Hongwu said. Hua Shenquang and Hua Tung looked at each other and didn't hesitate. They were Yang Hongwu's servants. If something happened to Yang Hongwu, they wouldn't be able to survive. Therefore, they couldn't stay outside while Yang Hongwu entered the underground city. Anya Shen followed closely behind Yang Hongwu. The 4 of them entered the underground city. As soon as they entered the city, they felt a terrifying pressure. It was so terrifying that they almost couldn't breathe. Hua Shenquang was fine. He had been here once before, so he was prepared to face this kind of pressure. However, Hua Tung and the goddess of the dark night were different. The two of them had never been here before. When they entered the underground city from the outside, they couldn't adapt to the sudden, strong pressure. Therefore, they were injured in an instant. Anya Shin was better. He was stronger than Hua Tung, so his injuries were lighter. Moreover, he had Yang Hongwu's protection. However, Hua Tung was different. The sudden pressure caused him serious injuries. On the other hand, Yang Hongwu didn't seem to be a threat to Yang Hongwu. It was as if he didn't feel the pressure at all. Hua Shenquang and the other two looked at Yang Hongwu and couldn't help but sigh. The gap between them was too big. Although Yang Hongwu was only a divine emperor, he didn't seem to be affected by such a terrifying pressure. It was as if there was no pressure at all. This was the gap between them, a huge gap. Master, I'm afraid I can't help you anymore, Hua Tung said with difficulty. He was panting heavily. It doesn't matter. With a thought from Yang Hongwu, a talisman flew out and landed on Hua Tung and the other two. This talisman helped the three of them resist the terrifying aura. In fact, this talisman was made by Yang Hongwu after he encountered the divine talisman. This talisman could resist the powerful qi of the immortal divine talisman. After entering this place, Yang Hongwu was sure that this was the real qi of the immortal divine talisman. This was the qi of the immortal divine talisman. The ancient tablet was located in the depths of this city. In fact, Yang Hongwu knew that even if the ancient tablet wasn't the real body of the immortal divine talisman, it was definitely related to the immortal divine talisman. There's no pressure anymore. Master is really amazing. The three of them were pleasantly surprised when the pressure was gone. They didn't expect that such a terrifying pressure could be resolved by a mere talisman. This was too shocking. The Tao of talismans was really unfathomable. Especially Hua Tung and Hua Shenquang. They didn't know much about Yang Hongwu. Previously, Yang Hongwu had shown great talent in the Tao formations. They only knew that Yang Hongwu had extraordinary attainments in the Tao formations. He was definitely an incomparably powerful formation master in the Tao of formations in the entire sky-reaching continent. In the whole sky-reaching continent, there was probably no one who could be compared to Yang Hongwu. However, they didn't expect Yang Hongwu to have such a mysterious talisman. The Tao of talismans was more difficult to cultivate than the Tao of formations. If one could cultivate the Tao of talismans to a high level, it would be more promising than the Tao of formations. Of course, at Hua Shenquang's level, he knew very well that if one was proficient in one method, he would be proficient in all other methods. If one had an extremely high level of attainment in the way of formations, then one should be able to comprehend a lot of other things, such as the way of talismans and the way of weapon refinement. However, if one wanted to reach an extremely high level of attainment, it was not quite possible. Therefore, Hua Shenquang only thought that Yang Hongwu had already reached the peak of the Tao of formations. However, the Tao of talismans should only be comprehending by analogy. He definitely hadn't reached the same level as the Tao of formations. Young master, although this talisman has solved the problem of the chi field, we can't underestimate it. Last time, when I entered here, there was a powerful attack. I don't know what kind of enemy it was. This time, it should be no exception. Therefore, we can't be careless. But this time, we can't be careless. Chapter 1873. Last time, it was extremely dangerous, but this time, it was much better. After all, there was no need to resist the strong pressure this time. Moreover, he was not alone. Yang Hongwu was in front of him. Don't worry, if anything happens, I can teleport you guys out. As long as I'm fine, you guys will be fine. Yang Hongwu said. Yang Hongwu did not care about Hua Shenquang and the other two's worries. This time, his goal was the immortal divine talisman, one of the 8 great divine talismans. Regardless of whether he had the chance to obtain it, he had to give it a try. After all, he did not want to miss out on such a treasure. This was an opportunity. If he missed it, he would not have such an opportunity again. Moreover, the 8 great divine talismans had always been one of his goals. Although the 8 great divine talismans were ranked below the life seal in his heart, Yang Hongwu did not want to miss out on the opportunity to obtain it. Therefore, Yang Hongwu had to give it a try no matter what, even if he knew that it was dangerous. Even if it was dangerous, he still had to take the risk. The group of people carefully walked through the city. In fact, there were times when even the slightest sound would cause them to worry endlessly. There doesn't seem to be any danger. Huiting said, "Young master, we've walked for so long without encountering any danger. Aren't you a little too nervous? Don't be careless." Huo Shenquang said, "Young master, no matter what, it's always better to be careful. It's better to be safe than sorry." Huo Shenquang is right. We can't be careless. Anya Shen said. At this moment, Yang Hongwu said, "It's not far. The ancient monument is not far away. However, our trouble is coming." Yang Hongwu found out that they were surrounded. This underground city was, in fact, equivalent to a dead city. Within the dead city, there was a threat. Naturally, this threat came from the dead. The people who surrounded them were the original masters of the city. They were all dead. What remained were only remnant souls. However, those remnant souls were also very terrifying and powerful. No one knew how long this ancient city had existed. The remnant thoughts and resentment of those who had died in this city had already condensed into ferocious spirits. These ferocious spirits were extremely powerful. As for those weak remnant souls, they had already been devoured. The remnant souls left behind were all extremely powerful. At that moment, the reason why Yang Hongwu had such a serious expression on his face was because they had been surrounded. The people who had surrounded them were precisely those ferocious spirits, the original owner of this city. "Young master, are we surrounded? Why didn't I feel it?" Huiting asked. "That's right, young master. I don't feel anything at all. Are we really surrounded?" Hua Shenquang was also a little surprised. If they were really surrounded, there should be some clues. However, he didn't find any clues at all. Therefore, he still didn't believe it. Yang Hongwu smiled gently. He didn't care about their doubts. In fact, if Yang Hongwu didn't have such a powerful eye technique like the Dharma Eye of Annihilation, he wouldn't have discovered them either. Because the concealment technique of these ferocious spirits was too powerful. They're coming. As soon as Yang Hongwu's voice fell, Hua Shenquang was sent flying. At the moment when Hua Shenquang was sent flying, Yang Hongwu reached out his hand and grabbed one of the ferocious spirits. That ferocious spirit burst out a powerful force after being caught by Yang Hongwu. It actually broke free from the restraint and even forced Yang Hongwu to take a few steps back. After Hua Shenquang was sent flying, he spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was filled with horror. He quickly returned to Yang Hongwu's side with a solemn expression. "It's them, young master. It's them. Last time I was ambushed by them and almost died in their hands." At this time, Hua Shenquang's expression was extremely nervous. He was sent flying without even noticing the other party. If it wasn't for Yang Hongwu, he would have died here. Hua Teng was also very nervous. Even Hua Shenquang couldn't withstand a single blow. If he was the one who was ambushed, he wouldn't be so lucky. After all, Hua Teng's strength was much weaker than Hua Shenquang. The two of them weren't on the same level at all. "Take these talismans. Also, don't leave within 3 feet of me." Yang Hongwu took out a few talismans and gave them to the 3 of them. They didn't dare to be careless, especially Hua Shenquang, who was relieved after receiving Yang Hongwu's talismans. After all, he had seen Yang Hongwu's strength just now. The thing that ambushed him was almost caught. Perhaps only Yang Hongwu could contend with these things. The others couldn't discover these things at all. Only Yang Hongwu could see them. "Young master, what are those things? Why can't we see or feel them?" Anya Shen asked. The goddess of the dark night was also a little worried about these invisible things. In fact, these things were even more terrifying than the Anya clan and the Dark Elf clan at night. The Anya clan and the Dark Elf clan could turn into spirits and disappear into nothingness at night. However, these things didn't seem to exist at all. They couldn't find any trace of them. This was the most terrifying thing. These things were simply the kings of assassination. If these things were used as assassins in the outside world, they would be terrifying. Not many people could resist them, especially those who were on the same level as them. Even if they knew that they had appeared, they wouldn't be able to resist them. It was too terrifying. Ferocious spirits. These should be ferocious spirits. In other words, they are formed from the remnant thoughts, resentment, and soul fragments left behind by the original owner of the city. They have a certain level of intelligence and are incomparably powerful. Some of them are even more terrifying and powerful than when they were alive. This city is perfectly integrated. It's very difficult to find them. Ordinary people can't catch their traces at all. If you don't have a special secret method, you have no chance of winning against them. Yang Hongwu explained. Then what should we do? Hua Xinquang was even more worried after hearing Yang Hongwu's words. Young master, are we going back now? Chapter 1874. You seem to have a lot of confidence in me, Yang Hongwu said to Anya Shen with a smile. Of course, you have never disappointed us, Anya Shen replied with a smile. Indeed, ever since Anya Shen met Yang Hongwu had never disappointed her. No matter how big the crisis was, he was always able to get through it safely. This time, Yang Hongwu would definitely not disappoint her. At least, that was what Anya Shen thought. Of course, this time will be no exception. As Yang Hongwu spoke, a huge furnace appeared with a thought. This was the devouring furnace. The devouring furnace exploded with a terrifying, devouring power. It was like a huge black hole, crazily sucking in the surrounding spiritual energy. Under the pressure of the devouring furnace, the ferocious spirits fled frantically. They wanted to escape from the terrifying, devouring power. For Yang Hongwu, any spirit body was no threat to Yang Hongwu, even if they were very powerful. One had to know that when Yang Hongwu was still very weak, he had already used the dragon soul devouring heaven secret technique to devour many powerful spirit bodies and raise his cultivation base. It could be said that Yang Hongwu was the nemesis of any spirit body. Of course, unless the spirit body was so powerful that it was beyond Yang Hongwu's control. In that case, it might be a threat to Yang Hongwu. For example, if these spirits surpassed the level of a ruler, Yang Hongwu would not be able to deal with them. However, these ferocious spirits obviously had not reached that level. Damn it! At this moment, a powerful evil spirit revealed his true appearance. His appearance was very handsome, and his eyes were incomparably sharp. His entire being was filled with a kind of powerful aura. This kind of aura was a kind of innate, imposing aura. Kid, stop it, he said. Yang Hongwu did not stop. He looked at the person and said, Who are you? Do you think I'll stop just because you asked me to? That's unlikely. This person was very strong. Yang Hongwu felt the pressure. This person's strength was definitely stronger than the 3 Hua Xinquang brothers at their peak. I know what you want. They are my brothers, my clansmen. Although many of them have already lost their sense of self, they are still my brothers, my clansmen. I do not wish for them to die completely, said that person. You are very strong. Who are you? Are these your clansmen? I am very curious about your origins. Of course, if you can give me what I want, not only will I not kill them, but I will also give you a chance to revive. Yang Hongwu stopped the devouring furnace and looked in front of him. The man said, in fact, Yang Hongwu had guessed that this person should be the strongest among these ominous spirits. He might even be the city lord of this underground city, or rather, the owner. This was no exception. Yang Hongwu could suppress spirits. Although this person was strong, he did not have a physical body. He was just a spirit. As long as his cultivation did not surpass the sovereign realm, Yang Hongwu could still suppress him. After all, he did not have a physical body. It has been too long. I have almost forgotten my name. I have a title, the Undying Tao Lord, muttered the man. Undying Tao Lord? Yang Hongwu's eyes widened in shock. Tao Lord. How strong was this person who dared to call himself a Tao Lord? The realms Yang Hongwu knew of range from the God Emperor realm to the Emperor realm, then to the Sovereign realm. Tao Lord was probably a realm above the Sovereign realm. This person actually dared to call himself a Tao Lord. Could it be that his strength had already surpassed the Sovereign realm? Was Tao Lord a realm above the Sovereign realm? The spiritual body of an expert who had surpassed the sovereigns was actually so weak right now. Furthermore, he had fallen to the point where he didn't even have a physical body. Just how powerful and terrifying was his enemy? Could it be that he had been suppressed here by Jiga Temple? If that was the case, then Jiga Temple was truly powerful and terrifying. Who knew how many powerhouses had been suppressed in the self-defense divine hall? Tao Lord, I never thought that I would be lucky enough to meet a Tao Lord today. A true Tao Lord. Huo Shenquang stared at Tao Lord Undying, his eyes filled with admiration and shock. If you really are a Tao Lord, how could you have fallen to this point? Yang Hongwu was not frightened by him. This underground city was indeed very strange. Moreover, that ancient steel was also very terrifying. However, Yang Hongwu did not believe all of this guy's words. Tao Lords are not invincible. They are not immortal, said Tao Lord Undying. Tao Lord Deathless said, this is actually a part of my world. You are in my world, but now my world has lost its vitality and essence. Lost its essence? Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes. You are lying to me. How can you still be alive after losing your essence? Moreover, you said that this is your world. Once a world loses its essence, it can no longer exist. Tao Lord Undying glanced at Yang Hongwu. You are still too weak. You are only in the divine emperor realm. Although your talent is great and the power in your body is terrifying, you have not reached that level yet. There are many things that you do not know. You will know when you reach the Tao Lord realm. In truth, Tao Lords are nothing more than slightly stronger ants. Tao Lord Undying sighed, his eyes filled with loneliness. It was unimaginable that such a terrifying expert would be so powerless. It was as if he was helpless and powerless in the face of some kind of power. It made one's heart ache. I admit that I am not strong enough. Yang Hongwu nodded. This was the truth. Huo Shenquang's mouth twitched. If this was not strong enough, then what was he? He was not even comparable to an ant. However, if he was facing a Tao Lord expert, this was also the truth. Tao Lords were simply too terrifying. Even the Lord of the Forsaken Shrine was a Tao Lord. In front of a Tao Lord, hegemons were nothing more than ants. No, not even ants. They were nothing more than specks of dust. The difference was like the difference between a speck of dust and a star. However, I will reach that level eventually. Yang Hongwu said, you said that you know what I want? Can you give it to me? Chapter 1875. You want the immortal God talisman. Undying Tao Lord said, do you know that it's not that easy to get the immortal God talisman? Moreover, even if you get it, it might not be a blessing. Undying Tao Lord, you must have gotten the immortal God talisman since you're called Undying Tao Lord, right? Yang Hongwu looked at Undying Tao Lord and said, this guy seemed to have a close connection with the immortal God talisman. Moreover, looking at the loneliness in his eyes, he must have fallen to such a state. It seemed that he had a lot to do with the immortal God talisman. From his words, one could tell that. Of course, no one knew if it was true or not. Yes, I got the immortal God talisman. I can achieve what I have today because of the immortal God talisman. However, it's also because of the immortal God talisman that I've fallen to such a state. Undying Tao Lord said, if you can resurrect me and my people, I'll give you the immortal God talisman. However, I hope you won't regret it when the time comes. Anya Shinv and the others swallowed their saliva when they heard Undying Tao Lord's words. The immortal God talisman was really one of the 8 legendary God talismans. Of course I won't regret it. In my eyes, there's no such thing as regret. Yang Hongwu said, if you really give me the immortal God talisman, I can resurrect you. As for your people, it won't be a problem. Yang Hongwu's words shocked Tao Monarch Deathless. He looked at Yang Hongwu and said, you have to think carefully. Reviving me won't be easy. I'm a Tao Monarch. Do you know how powerful a Tao Monarch is? With your current cultivation, it's impossible for you to resurrect me. Unless you can reach the Tao Lord realm, there's a chance. Since I said so, I can naturally do it. However, it's impossible for you to recover your cultivation. Yang Hongwu said, huh? Undying Tao Lord laughed out loud when he heard that. As long as I can recover my physical body, that's enough. As for cultivation, I naturally wouldn't dare to ask for it. The deathless Tao Lord looked at Yang Hongwu in astonishment. Restoring his physical body wasn't something that could be done just by talking about it. His soul was now just a remnant soul. Moreover, it was restricted by the immortal god talisman. If he wanted to regain his physical body, he would need the power of fortune. However, the power of fortune was not easy to obtain. As for these things, he didn't say them out loud. He wanted to see just how Yang Hongwu would give him a physical body. At his level, even possession was impossible because no physical body could withstand the power of the immortal divine talisman. Here, he would be suppressed by the immortal divine talisman. Unless he could leave this place and leave the range of the immortal divine talisman, only the power of creation could help him form a physical body. Yang Hongwu didn't know about this. If he knew, it would be very painful. Of course, he would still choose to agree. In that case, Tao Lord, please tell me where the immortal divine talisman is. Yang Hongwu said, All right. The undying Tao Lord raised his hand and pointed. A passage appeared in the void. After the passage appeared, there was an ancient tablet at the end. This ancient tablet contained a terrifying power. Ordinary people would be shocked when they saw this ancient tablet. Those who were weak would be shocked to death. Huo Shenkwang and the other two were quite strong. However, after taking a look at it, their bodies trembled violently and they suffered serious injuries. What a terrifying ancient tablet. Huo Shenkwang spat out a mouthful of blood and didn't dare to look at the ancient tablet again. Anya Shen was the same. Huoding was seriously injured and couldn't even speak. Is that the immortal divine talisman? Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes. No, that's just the passage to the immortal divine talisman. The undying Tao Lord said, This is just the door. Kid, if you want to get the immortal divine talisman, you have to enter the immortal divine tablet and get its approval. Of course, if you're strong enough, you can force your way in. However, you can't do that. Immortal divine tablet? Yang Hongwu said, This isn't the immortal divine talisman, but the immortal divine tablet? Can you find the passage to the immortal divine talisman? Yang Hongwu was shocked. He thought that this was the immortal divine talisman, but he didn't expect that it wasn't the immortal divine talisman. In fact, this is also the immortal divine talisman. This immortal divine tablet is just a part of the immortal divine talisman. It's also possible to call it the immortal divine talisman. The undying Tao Lord said, What I obtained back then was the immortal divine tablet, a part of the immortal divine talisman. I never got the real one. The undying Tao Lord said bitterly. Back then, he was insufferably arrogant. After obtaining the immortal divine tablet, his strength improved by leaps and bounds. In the end, he swept through all the worlds and became a Tao Lord. When his strength reached the peak of Tao Lord, he realized that he had only obtained a part of the immortal divine talisman, which was the immortal divine tablet. He wanted to get the real immortal divine talisman, so he used the immortal divine tablet to open the passage to the immortal Tao domain. However, he didn't expect that after entering the immortal Tao domain, he would encounter something too terrifying. Everything was destroyed. He had fled in a panic, and now he was reduced to such a state, sealed in this small space. Yang Hongwu was shocked. He didn't expect that a powerful person like the undying Tao Lord couldn't get the real immortal divine talisman. Yang Hongwu couldn't believe it. Although I can't give you the real immortal divine talisman, I can give you the immortal divine tablet. However, you have to be able to get the recognition of the immortal divine tablet. It depends on your luck. The undying Tao Lord continued. Thank you, Tao Lord. I will naturally take the immortal divine tablet. I also want the immortal divine talisman. Yang Hongwu said. After saying that, Yang Hongwu walked towards the immortal divine tablet. The closer he got to the immortal divine tablet, the greater the pressure Yang Hongwu felt. Originally, Yang Hongwu could ignore all the pressure. However, when he got close to the immortal divine tablet, the terrifying pressure made it difficult for Yang Hongwu to breathe. Chapter 1876. At this moment, Yang Hongwu was already very close to the immortal steel. Because of this, Yang Hongwu felt an increasing pressure. In fact, the pressure was so strong that Yang Hongwu found it difficult to breathe. Just nice for me to temper my physical body. Yang Hongwu's eyes shone brightly as he circulated the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon technique and his physical body tempering technique to increase the strength of his physical body. One should know that it had been a long time since his physical body had reached such a level. However, he hoped that this time around, he could make use of this terrifying pressure to improve his physical body even more. Good lad. To think that he would make use of the power of the immortal steel to temper his physical body and raise his cultivation. Not simple indeed. Seeing that Yang Hongwu was actually making use of the pressure of the immortal steel to cultivate, the undying Tao Lord was extremely shocked. One should know that under this pressure back then, he could barely protect himself. However, Yang Hongwu actually thought of making use of this pressure to cultivate. This level of wisdom was far from what ordinary people could compare to. However, Yang Hongwu also felt that the pressure was way too great at this moment. Under this immense pressure, he felt as though his entire body was about to be crushed. Of course, this was also the reason why Yang Hongwu's physical body had improved significantly under this terrifying pressure. It's just a mere immortal steel. Rise for me. At this moment, Yang Hongwu had already come into contact with the immortal steel. With a grab, he grabbed the immortal steel and lifted it up. The moment he came into contact with the immortal steel exploded with an unimaginable power that rushed towards Yang Hongwu's physical body. As this surge of power entered, Yang Hongwu felt as though his physical body was about to be completely crushed. This surge of power wasn't something that he could withstand at all. Just as Yang Hongwu's body couldn't hold on any longer and was about to be destroyed by this tyrannical power, the invisible power in Yang Hongwu's body erupted and blocked this terrifying power. At this moment, Yang Hongwu knew that the sealed power in his body had erupted to protect him. Therefore, Yang Hongwu crazily operated the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon technique. Boom! A muffled sound rang out. With the breakthrough of the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon technique, Yang Hongwu's cultivation had also improved. Ninth layer of the Godly Emperor realm. Yang Hongwu's cultivation had broken through several small realms, reaching level 9 of the Divine Emperor realm. He was only one step away from reaching the peak of the Divine Emperor realm and becoming half an emperor. The Nine Heavens Divine Dragon technique was still at the 5th level. In fact, it was too difficult to break through the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon technique. Until now, he had only broken through to the 5th level. He had no idea how long it would take for the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon art to break through to the 9th level. According to this calculation, if he broke through to the 9th level of the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon technique, his strength would probably surpass that of a Tao Lord. However, this was just Yang Hongwu's own guess. No one knew how far it would go. One thing was for sure, it was too far away. At least, it was absolutely impossible in a short period of time. The moment his cultivation base broke through, the pressure of the immortal steel disappeared completely. With a single thought, Yang Hongwu collected the immortal steel and refined it by Yang Hongwu. It recognized its master? So easy. The undying Tao Lord was also surprised. He did not expect that the undying steel would recognize him as its master so easily. It was too surprising. Under normal circumstances, unless one was recognized by the undying steel, it would not be so easy to subdue it. The immortal steel. Congratulations, young master. Congratulations, young brother, for obtaining the recognition of the immortal steel. At this time, the few of them knew that Yang Hongwu had succeeded. In fact, Anya Shenv and the others were also very worried when they saw Yang Hongwu withstanding the terrifying pressure. They were all afraid that Yang Hongwu would not be able to withstand it and be crushed by the terrifying pressure. Yes, Yang Hongwu smiled. I was lucky. I did not expect the immortal steel to be so terrifying. It was beyond my imagination. I almost could not withstand it. Yang Hongwu was telling the truth. Indeed, collecting the immortal steel had given Yang Hongwu too much pressure. After obtaining the immortal steel, Yang Hongwu also realized that the immortal steel was indeed a part of the immortal god talisman. He could use the immortal steel to enter the world of the immortal god talisman, which was the immortal Dao domain. However, Yang Hongwu did not dare to enter it this time because the immortal Dao domain was too strong. The immortal Dao domain was too terrifying. It was not something that he could deal with. The reason why the immortal Dao Lord was reduced to such a state was because he had entered the immortal Dao domain. One must know that the immortal Dao Lord was an expert of the Dao Lord realm, and he even controlled a part of the immortal steel's power. However, he had fallen to such a state. He was only a divine emperor now. If he entered the immortal Dao domain, he would be courting death. Therefore, Yang Hongwu would not enter the immortal Dao domain to take the risk. I have to admit that your talent is amazing and your luck is heaven-defying. The immortal Dao Lord said, I wonder how you will resurrect me and my clan. It is very difficult to resurrect a Dao Lord. Yang Hongwu said, Of course I know that. Little brother, there is no need to be anxious. I have waited for so many years. I will not be in a hurry. The immortal Dao Lord said with a smile. In fact, the moment Yang Hongwu received the recognition of the immortal steel, the immortal Dao Lord knew that his connection with the immortal God Talisman had been severed. There was no more karmic connection. The immortal Dao Lord felt relieved. He even had a feeling that after losing the immortal steel, his connection with the immortal God Talisman had been severed. With the connection with the immortal God Talisman, he actually had the opportunity to break through. As long as he recovered to his peak, he might be able to break through the shackles of the Dao Lord realm. This surprised him. At this moment, he realized that although the immortal God Talisman had made him, it had also restricted him. Back then, he had relied too much on the power of the immortal God Talisman. Moreover, he had been too attached to it. It was because he had been too attached to the immortal God Talisman and wanted to obtain the complete immortal God Talisman that he had lost the possibility of breaking through and had fallen to such a state. However, he was now only a remnant soul. He did not know how long it would take for him to recover. Most importantly, he was now in the sky-reaching land of the Divine Palace of Self-Defense. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.